Hey y'all, I'm so excited to be doing this. We're going to be talking about, well, not just talking about, it's going to be as if you're reading the book yourself, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's in theaters right now, and I have not watched the movie. I'm going to reserve the movie for later on after I am completely done with the book. But I have read the entire Hunger Games series, and it's been a very long time since I fall in love with Jennifer Lawrence as Katniss Everdeen. I read the books, I watched the movie. It was one of those things that I really enjoyed because I love the Battle Royale realm. You guys ever watched the original Battle Royale from the Japanese movies? It is good. It is gory. Oh, President Snow, the villain behind the original Hunger Games series. What made this man so damn evil? Did he have a traumatic childhood? Maybe his mom and dad didn't spoil him enough, or maybe something went down between him and the other district and that's why he had so much hatred towards them. Maybe a friend betrayed him, maybe a romance fell apart, or was he just born straight up evil? Anyways, we're gonna get into this book. I'm super excited. I want to draw y'all into a different world. We have the United States, a once great nation, but it has fallen down. We don't really know why, or maybe it was in the books and I forgot. But now it is called Panem, and Panem consists of, you have the capital and the 13 districts. Each of the districts, they are responsible for different areas of providing to the capital. So we have fishing, we have farming, manufacturing, we have coal, we have nuclear and things like that. And at some point, the districts, well, they didn't like how the capital was treating them. They felt like the capital was oppressing them. They felt like the capital had way too much power. One by one, they start rebelling against the capital. And because the district was providing everything to the capital, well, at some point, the people in the capital, they started starving. You had these like rich, influential, powerful people who had everything in their grasp. And at some point, they weren't getting food anymore. Our main character in the story actually witnesses one of his neighbor engaging in cannibalism, but we're not going to really dive into that right now. We'll talk about it a little bit, but this is dark times, y'all. This was a time called the Dark Days, and it was the capital that ended up winning over their enemies. Our story is going to take place at the capital, not at the districts, but in the capital, and it's going to take place roughly 60 to 70 years before Katniss Everdeen was ever chosen for the 74th Hunger Games, because where are we at right now? We are at the 10th Hunger Games, and things are very different here. Now, we're going to focus our story on Coriolanus Snow. I kept saying Coriolanus Snow because I thought it sounded better. Coriolanus sounds like anus to me, but you know what? We're just going to stick with it, or we'll just call him Snow. Snow is standing in his kitchen. This reeks of poverty. He's standing over his stovetop, boiling some cabbages, and the room is just being filled with the smell of cabbages. He's got nothing else to eat. Snow is 18 at this point. He's got beautiful locks of golden curly hair. And in my head, I was thinking, oh, Heath Ledger? Okay, yeah, okay. Maybe he looks like Heath Ledger. Listen, we can dream, right? We can dream a little bit. He is part of a very prominent family. Before the times of war, they were very wealthy, very well known. And his father was actually a military general. He's got a mother as well, and unfortunately, during the times of war, she passed away, and his father was shortly killed afterwards. But Snow and his family, he's used to the different type of lifestyle, and now it's been relegated to boiling a pot of cabbages, eating things in the fridge that he's not really excited to eat. He reminisces about a time where what a luxury it was to have trash just throw away. See, nowadays, people don't have trash to throw away because you want to keep everything. There is no wasted calories. The only family member that Snow has left is his grandmam, which is a very rich way in the capital of saying grandmother, and his cousin Tigris. Cousin Tigris is roughly 3 years older than him, and the war started when he was 5, Tigris was 8 years old, and she really had to take reins of the family. She had to make sure there was cooking, there was cleaning. There's a grandmam there, but she was part of old money. She didn't know how to cook. She didn't know how to do anything. I'm gonna have the servants do that for me. And so Tigris really had to step it up in the family. I just want to show you guys what the family dynamic is like. We're in the beginning of the story where not only Snow is complaining about not having anything really delicious to eat, but he's got nothing to wear. You see, today, it was a very important day. This was the day of the reaping. But you guys gotta remember that Snow, he's a capital kid. He's not part of the districts. He's not gonna be participating in the reaping. He's actually got a very important role in it that we'll talk about in a bit. But the reaping, let's talk about that. So as the Dark Days came to an end, The capital made the district sign the Treaty of Treason. And part of that treaty, the capital made the district send 2 of their kids each year to participate in this disgusting battle royale thing where everyone will be watching on the big screens, and whoever was the winner gets to go back home. Now, like I said, this was different times. I don't think they got like riches or anything like that. I don't think they got prominence, the big giant house. I think it was just like, okay, you won your first place, you go home. Y'all know in the Hunger Games where Katniss Everdeen was participating, it was different. They dressed up in grand outfits. They got to win these grand prizes. But back to Snow. He's running around. He's got nothing to wear. You know, he doesn't really have the family money at this point, because even though he's at this beautiful, grand 20-foot wall penthouse in one of the most opulent apartment buildings in the capital, if you look very closely though, what is that? There's like cracks all over the wall. The moldings are all falling apart. There's tape, electrical tape that's holding the glass windows together. This place it's very dilapidated. And although it's been 10 years since the war, other rich families, they have been building up their homes again. But in the Snow household, things are a little bit different. You look around in the rooms, it's barely even furnished. There are some rooms that are like just straight up empty, okay? Where are the couches at? Where are the beautiful paintings? Where are the fine sculptures and the artworks? Where are the books? Where is everything? Why is everything so gone? Well, during the times of the war, they had to sell a lot of things off in order to sustain themselves, to get food, to pay money maybe for rent. And not only that, they also had to burn furnitures and these grand books in order to keep themselves warm. This is the Snow family's new reality. And Snow is panicking. He's got nothing to wear, but out of nowhere, Cousin Tigress swoops on in and she's got something in her hands. As Snow gets really excited, he opens it up and he realizes it's this beautiful linen shirt. It's got black velvet on the cuffs, on the, what do you call this? Collar lapel, collar. And it's got this opulent looking gold and like black onyx buttons. And it's just perfect. He's already got some decent pants to wear, decent shoes. But what does everyone look at? They look at the shirt. So he is all set and ready. And I just want to talk about Cousin Tigress because she is like the glue to the Snow family. Now, Cousin Tigress, I couldn't really get like an image of her in my head because like the book doesn't really go into much descriptions about her. But she's about really tall. She's like skinny. They say that she's really no great beauty, which rude. But Cousin Tigress, you know, there's like a sweetness about her and a vulnerability that Snow really liked. But he hoped that people wouldn't take advantage of her. So she's like a sweet person that we kind of like cling on to. As she comes in, Snow observes that Cousin Tigress, she looks pretty tired. Her eyes are pretty like swollen. It's as if she hasn't really had any sleep. And he asked her, did you eat yet? Did you get any of the potatoes? And she's like, well, I mean, I ate the skin and I guess that's where all the vitamins are. See, that's the type of person that Tigress is. She doesn't want to eat the food because she wants to preserve that for her family members. She is sacrificing herself. And like, she's like, I'm just eating the potato skins, but it's okay. You guys go on ahead and eat it. Meanwhile, Snow is like over the stovetop complaining about the food that's in the fridge. Cabbage is boiling. Like, he gives off like a bit of like a spoiled bratty capital kid, okay? Like, Snow puts the shirt on and he observes himself in the mirror. He's, you know, kind of tall. He's got a sort of an athletic build. And he's got great posture, you know, must be like a rich people thing. And he looks into the mirror thinking how much taller he could have grown. But because he was nutritionally deficient during the war times, well, that probably stunted his growth or something like that. He looks into the mirror, tucks his beautiful blonde hair curls back a little bit, and says to himself, Coriolanus Snow, the future president of Panem, I salute you. Grandmam comes in and she gives Snow a beautiful red rose. She's got a rose garden in the rooftop that she absolutely loves. Like, roses are her thing. He thanks his grandmother and then he dashes out of the door because he's in a rush, but he's got to make sure that he's not sweating because that would be embarrassing to be sweating in these beautiful clothes. Snow finally arrives at the academy where his fellow students are. And y'all, this is the type of person that Snow is, okay? He meanders through the crowd and he's like talking to everyone. And he's saying things like, ha ha ha, I caught your lecture on district retaliation. It still haunts me. Oh, ow, I hit my elbow. I caught your lecture on district retaliation. It still haunts me. Love your bangs, by the way. I heard your mother's in back surgery. She's my hero. These are the people that you see in like these socialite circles and you're kind of just like, bleh. But anyways, as Snow is doing his schmoozing, his classmates at this point are already a couple cups deep into something called Posca, which is their version of watered down wine that has spices in it, maybe like cinnamons. I don't know, it smells like Christmas to me. It smells like it would smell good. And as Snow is trying to say hi to everyone, there is one person in the crowd that's really hard for him to keep this act up. He sees Sejanus Plinth. Anytime I read this in my head, I kept saying Sejanus, but I know it's pronounced Sejanus. I don't know. I guess everyone in this book is just an anus, but whatever, Suzanne Collins. Sejanus Plinth. He is a District 2 boy. Wait a second. District 2 boy, but we're in the capital. What is he doing here? Sejanus Plinth's family, they did very well actually during the times of war. They invested in munitions. Well, actually, so did the Snow family. They also invested in munitions as well. But what's the difference between the two investments? Well, his family invested in purely District 13. District 13 at this point has already been nuked. It is completely destroyed. There is nothing left. Goodbye, all of Snow's money. However, I do want to bring this up. When the grandmam of the Snow family heard about this news that District 13 had been nuked, she tried to play it off. She was like, it's a good thing that I diversified my investments. But that was a complete lie. This is why you don't put all your eggs in one basket. I guess post-America, index funds just weren't a thing. I don't know. This to Snow was a disgrace. Even though they have money now, they shouldn't be accepted into the capital. Like, I have legacy. I have the legacy family within me, the prestige. But Snow, he's not going to be saying this to Janus Plinth. He's the type of person who will just be fake to your face. So he tries to keep up with the act. Oh, hey, Sejanus, how are you doing today? Sejanus says hi to him and they exchange hellos. Sejanus, well, during this conversation, he brings up something really important. He says that the capital was now going to begin taxing its citizens on property. Wait, what? On property? I thought that was only a thing that was done in the districts. Yeah, but this is going to be a new thing that they're going to do. At this point, Snow's face turns completely white. Sejanus says, "Are you all right? You don't look very well." Oh, it's just the Pascha, it just kind of like messes up my stomach a little bit. I think I had a little too much. Oh, really? Yeah, Mom, she used to make me down that all the time. It doesn't really work well with my stomach as well. Snow is thinking in his mind, I'm about to be usurped by this peasant here who still refers to his mother as Ma. Like, really? This is the person that might replace the Snow legacy? And it's all in his head. He's thinking all this in his head. Of course, his facial expressions is not expressing any of this. This is the fake friend that you probably had in elementary, middle school, maybe in high school. Sorry, y'all. Snow is thinking in his head, how are they going to be able to afford this property tax? They've barely been affording living so far. What are they going to do? And that just leads into why Snow is fighting so hard to look good during the reaping. See, the capital, they want to have a mentorship program where the capital kids, the top kids at the academy, are going to mentor the kids who are tributes from each of the districts. And it's not like the capital kids have any experience with fighting, battling, hand-to-hand combat, or using weapons. But the capital, they really want to revamp the image of the Hunger Games. You see, during this time, no one really wanted to watch the Hunger Games. And I don't blame them. Who wants to watch a bunch of poor young children fighting each other to the death, blood, gore? I mean, you must be a sick person. Well, we're reading about the book, but that's a different story. A lot of people didn't want to watch it. This is something that they weren't forced to tune into. But you see, the capital, they wanted to remind everyone about the treason. They wanted to remind everyone about the war times. And in order to keep that fresh in their mind, they wanted to have people to become invested in watching the Hunger Games. And Snow is thinking, if he stands out in his mentorship program, well, perhaps he'll be able to get that monetary prize. And that prize that he can use it to pay for university next year, because the academy that he's at right now, it is free tuition, free food, free uniforms. Like, that is great. But for university, the family's going to have to pay for it. And he ain't got no family money. The money's gone. It's all nuked with District 13. But you see, none of his friends know this. No one else knows that the Snow family is really just keeping up their looks. One thing or one theme that you're going to see throughout the book is that the Snow family, whether it's the grandmam, whether it's Snow, they do everything they can to keep up with appearances. All they care about is the family name, the family legacy, even though they are living in complete shit. Which reminds me, if you guys ever watch any of the Real Housewives stuff, like, we have so many housewives who be doing this, they'd be living enough, spending all this money, but really they don't have shit in the bank and they are filing for bankruptcy. Like, this is the Snow family right here. As Snow is mentally settling in, Dean Casca Highbottom walks in, and this man is actually the creator of the Hunger Games. He's going to personally oversee the mentorship program, and there's a little bit of an odd relationship between Snow and Casca Highbottom. He's kind of like the Snape in the Harry Potter books because he's the authority figure who is going to take every jabs he can at Snow, and Snow has no idea why. It is revealed that Dean Highbottom was really close friends with Snow's father, but he doesn't understand why he keeps getting picked on. So Casca Highbottom, he comes in and he's kind of a guy who is always under influence. Like he's like sipping on Pasca, maybe do some other things, but he's under the influence. You know, he's got slurry eyes. He's kind of like lagging his legs a little bit, looks a little bit tired, you know. But he's going to come out, the TV is on, and he's going to announce which mentors are paired up with which tributes. And Snow's excited because he's hoping to get maybe District 1, District 2. They produce young kids that were a little bit beefy, you know, that were healthier, but the names are called and he doesn't get either of them. District 4, maybe District 11, because those are from the farming, the fishing district. The kids there at least have access to food, but no name is called for Snow. Finally, District 12, girl, Coriolanus Snow. District 12, what a joke. District 12 is the joke district. Their kids are stunted. Their joints are all swollen. These are the type of kids that would die within the first 5 minutes. And a girl at that, girls are weak. They can't fight. They can't run as fast. This must be a joke. There's no way. Someone must be pulling strings behind the scenes. Snow was thinking maybe Dean Highbottom had this all set up. There was a time where Snow jokingly called Casca Highbottom high as a kite bottom because, you know, he was always kind of slurring his words and under the influence. And maybe that name got back to him. But I don't get it. I mean, wasn't he friends with my dad? Why is he doing this to me? Maybe the Snow family were falling into insignificance after all. He looks over at Sejanus and tries to keep his composure. Oh, Sejanus. Oh, congratulations. You got District 2, right? That's the boy, the pick of the litter. But something was up with Sejanus' face. His face just had misery written all over. He replies back and says, but you forget, I'm part of that litter. Coriolanus did not take this very greatly. In his mind, he was thinking, what a waste. All that privilege that you were able to get from the capital, and you still think yourself as a district boy? What kind of sentimental nonsense is that? But of course, he didn't say this out loud. You know how Snow is. And at this point, if Snow didn't already hate Sejanus enough, he hated him even more. Sejanus creases his forehead. I'm sure my father requested this. He's always trying to get my mind right. Now we look over the screen and we pan over to District 12. Things are looking pretty bleak there. It pans over to the stage where the mayor calls out, District 12 girl, Lucy Graybeard. In the crowd, the camera zooms in. You see a pretty young girl. She's got brown curly hair put up in an updo. But Snow noticed that she's wearing this very odd ruffly dress. Like she's dressed up. It's ruffly and it's rainbow colored. Kind of odd, but okay. She makes her way through the crowd, but instead of just going straight for the stage, she actually meanders through where the girls are. And if you look in the camera very closely, you see something green, something shiny, a little bit long, hops from Lucy Graybeard's dress and into the collar of another girl. All of a sudden, the girl, she starts screaming. She starts patting her body, trying to get something out. The crowd was like, what the fuck was that? Yo, she threw a snake down someone else's shirt, but we don't know why. Hands back to the mayor who's on stage. Mayor's like, that's my daughter. Help her. He runs off the stage, runs to his daughter. At this point, the daughter was so scared that she actually peed herself, and everyone can see that. The mayor's embarrassed. He takes off his jacket and tries to quickly wrap it around his daughter's waist. At this point, the mayor turns his gaze over the stage, runs up there, goes up to Lucy Graybeard, wheels back his hand, and slaps her across the face. Lucy falls over. She tries to get up, gain her composure, but running across her face was this bright red streak that has just been left by the handprints of the mayor. Her eyes are slowly welling up. She's trying really hard to not cry at that moment, you know? Everyone's looking at her. Snow is pretty invested in what's going on. He whispers, don't cry. And of course she can't hear because she's all the way in District 12 and he's in the capital. There is someone in the crowd who just starts singing. Try to lift the moment a little bit and give Lucy Gray a sense of pride. Lucy hears the singing and she starts smiling a little bit at the corner of her mouth. She starts singing the song and she's got a beautiful, gorgeous voice. Like she's bellowing out the notes. She's hitting her high notes. And I'm not going to repeat the song because I can't sing and I'm going to probably butcher it. But she starts singing. The crowd is enthralled by her performance. Snow is thinking, she's a performer. Lucy ends up ending her song. And even though Snow was initially disappointed that it was a District 12 and it was a girl, but he's an opportunistic. He'll take something and make something good out of it. Lucy Graybeard, we can use her talents. And even though she doesn't have a big build, she may not be able to win hand-to-hand combat with another person, but, she's small. She's nimble. Maybe she can run fast. At least at this point, the audience is invested with her. She stood out of all the tributes because of this performance that she gave. And even though the capital, they probably weren't happy about this performance, but there are peacekeepers there. Oh, by the way, peacekeepers are people who keep the peace, and they're basically like police enforcement, like law enforcement. Even the peacekeepers, as they were ushering her off the stage, they couldn't help but kind of smile a little bit. As the reaping drew to a close, Coriolanus can smell the wafting air of delicious food just filling the air. Oh my God, there's bread, there's onion, there's meat. And as he's about to eat his meal, he thinks about the time where he saw one of his friend's father in a very dark alley during the times of the war. He's hunched over a dead body, but what is he doing? All of a sudden, he starts seeing the leg of the dead body slowly moving back and forth, as if it's being sawed off. The man was ripping the leg off from her body, looks around, doesn't notice Coriolanus or his cousin Tigers watching him, and runs off with the leg. Forever, this has been ingrained in his mind. Every time he sees his classmate, he always thinks about whether or not she knew that she may have eaten some human stew at one point during the times of the war, or maybe at many points. Luckily, during the times of war, his grandmother made a huge investment in buying a crap ton of beans from a family friend named Pluribus. This was the one good investment that the Snow family had made during this time. And as Snow was finishing his meal, he looks at the corner of his eyes and noticed, ooh, apple pie. Oh my God, I'm like salivating right now. I'm like, oh, great. Okay, apple pie. He slowly approaches the table with apple pie, getting ready to pick the biggest slice there, when all of a sudden someone thrusts a plate of apple pie right in his arms. It was the Snape, Dean Casca Highbottom. Oh, you're a growing boy. Here, have a big slice of pie. Snow takes it. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. I surely could always make room for pie. He doesn't want people to know that he's starving. And as they settle in, Dean Highbottom asks, so what are your plans after the academy? Snow's thinking, what a stupid question. I mean, obviously, if you look at my academic records, university. But he answers politely and tells him, well, I plan on going to university. Oh, well, I did see your name on the list of prize contenders. What happens if you don't win that prize? Well, this caught Snow off guard. I mean, we'll just have to pay for it, of course. Snow's faking it. Casca laughs. Would you? Look at you in your makeshift shirt and your too tight shoes trying to hold it together, strutting around the Capitol when I doubt the Snows have a pot to piss in. Snow's looking around, making sure no one heard this. Don't worry, nobody knows. Well, hardly anybody. Enjoy that pie, boy. And with that, Casca just got up and he left. But quickly, Snow got up and followed after him and beat the shit out of Highbottom. How dare he say that? No, I'm just kidding. That did not happen. But, Snow probably wanted to do that, but he had to hold his composure. He wanted to get the out of there. Was he not already embarrassed enough with having a District 12 girl as a tribute that he's mentoring? Was he not going to be embarrassed sometimes in the future because, well, he's going to lose his house because of the property taxes? What is the Snow family going to do? And this is why this mentorship program, winning the grand prize, is important to him. He needs to do everything it takes to win, no matter what. Dun dun, insert Law and Order music. I grew up with that. I love Law and Order. But how exactly is he going to be able to connect with Lucy Gray? I mean, after all, he's from the capital. She's from one of the worst districts. He needs to get her to follow his instructions. And better yet, they need to work together. In order to make a good impression, he decides to go to the train station where all the tributes were going to arrive. He looks around. Good. No one else is there. I'm the only one here. I'm going to make a good impression. He wants to make sure that she's going to feel welcome into the capital, not as a prisoner, but as someone who is his guest. Nightfall is starting to come, and finally, at some point, he sees a train approaching. But this wasn't like an ordinary train that held passengers. It was as if they were transporting animals. The peacekeepers, they get out of the train and they start unlocking the doors. One by one, the tributes are coming out of the train car. And the height of the cargo is not necessarily very close to the floor, and some of these are very tiny kids. They were unable to really make a safe jump off of it. And since there was hesitance in their face, the peacekeeper would just yank on their chain and the kids would just fall down over. One of the girls actually chipped her front tooth because of this. Not only that, but the tributes, they are chained. There are these heavy chains linking them to one another. And all of a sudden, he notices Lucy Graybeard. She slowly makes her way out of the cargo, and it's a little bit bright out, so she has her hand out, kind of like getting her eyes adjusted, because in the cargo, it's dark in there. It's not like it's well lit. You know, Katniss Everdeen, when she was transporting the train, well, hers was like a luxury train, okay? This was the 10th Hunger Games. They were not there yet. Lucy Gray comes out, and the boy who actually jumped off the train before her is also a District 12 boy. His name is Jessup, and he's going to be quite important in this story. Jessup seems like he might be a good contender for winning the Hunger Games. He was roughly pretty big boy, and he seems like a really sweet guy. As Lucy Gray is about to make that jump from the cargo onto the ground, Jessup catches her at the waist and helps her down gently. Potential love story with Jessup, maybe with Snow, love triangle, I don't know, maybe, we'll see. As Snow was standing there, he realizes, oh, okay, it's now or never. I gotta go say hi to her. So he approaches Lucy Gray and he says, "Welcome to the capital. My name is Snow and I will be your mentor." He hands out this beautiful white rose with the long stems over to Lucy Gray. She takes it in, she says, "Ah." She caresses her hands on the petals, and then all of a sudden she plucks one out and sticks it in her mouth and just eats it. I don't know if this is supposed to be like a cute romantic scene, but to me, I was like, she eats it? What? You fucking eat the flower? Tastes like bedtime. Now, as she opens her eyes, she says, "You don't look like you belong here." "Well, I probably don't, but I wanted to come and greet you." "So what exactly does a mentor do besides give me roses?" I do my best to take care of you." "Well, good luck, gorgeous." And she just walks on away. Snow notices that all the tributes were slowly being loaded into this truck-like thing. But it wasn't really a truck. It was more like a cage that animals were held in, specifically circus animals. And so Snow goes up to the peacekeeper and he's like, that's my tribute right there. I'm her mentor. Am I allowed to accompany her?" The peacekeeper laughs. I mean, if you want, yeah, go ahead. Do whatever you want." And so Snow, he walks on over and he's a little bit hesitant because, like I said, this is like a cage. He's not like in this very nice truck, and he's a little bit hesitant about getting in. But Lucy Gray, she's watching. You know, he doesn't want to embarrass himself. He doesn't want to show her that he's a coward. So reluctantly, he hops into the back of the cage/truck, and the moment it closes, oh boy, did he regret it, because all the other tributes were looking at him like he was fresh meat. The car starts up, and at some point, one of the tributes starts looking at him. They make comments like, "What's the matter, pretty boy? Ooh, let's kill him. It's not like anything else can happen to us." Snow has realized what a bad situation he's put himself in, and they're slowly inching closer to him, ready to tear him apart. All of a sudden, though, a nice little delicate Lucy Gray comes in between, and she says, "Well, they may not punish you guys, but don't forget, you guys have family back at home. Plus, he's my mentor. I need him." And with that, Snow exhales. Oh man, saved by Lucy Gray. All of a sudden, they arrive at their destination. The truck door opens, and as everyone is getting ready to get out and be unloaded from the truck, all of a sudden, the truck just tilts this way and everyone just slides on out and just dumps them like they're just nothing, like they're bags of flour. This was a 20-foot drop, and as Snow realizes exactly what he's just been dropped into, he quickly gets up and untangles himself from other people, and he's like kind of panicking a little bit. You know, I would too. But he gets up, he looks around, he realizes that he's literally like in a circus. Not only that, the stadium, It wasn't empty. There were people there. There was an audience there. Did he just embarrass himself? Oh my God. Hopefully he didn't act too horribly. He needs to make sure that the Snow name does not get tarnished. They were dumped into the monkey house at the zoo. Coriolanus quickly straightens himself up, and as he gets up, he realizes not only is there a crowd, but there are cameras on both sides. There are people there. There are children there. They start to notice that, wait a second, there's someone there that's wearing a school uniform. Who is that boy over there? Oh, is that the Snow boy? Who is the Snow boy? You know, the one with the roses and the rooftop. Snow wants to run at this point, but he can't. He doesn't want to look dumb. So he saunters over to Lucy Gray, and she's over there kind of minding her own business, fixing her hair. He treats her as if she was the most grandest lady in the area, reaches out his hand and says, "Would you like to meet some of my neighbors?" "Oh, yes, I would be delighted to." Snow grabs Lucy's hand and he walks on over to where the children are. And he knows the children are probably scared of the tribute, so he needs to be very delicate about this. He goes over to the children and asks, "Would you like to meet Lucy Gray Baird?" The children, they know who she is. They saw her on television, they saw her sing, and they are very interested in her. "Oh, yes, we would love to meet her. May I present to you Lucy Gray Baird?" "Oh, hello, children. How do you do? My name is Lucy Gray." And the kids, they are asking her a bunch of questions. They are so interested in her. And at this point, this draws the gaze of the interviewer of the Capitol News. He comes on over and brings the microphone over to Lucy's lips and say, "Are you the tribute from District 12? "Well, we're technically not part of District 12. We're actually Covey musicians by trade, and we actually travel from district to district. We kind of just get stuck in District 12. "So you're part of District 12? "No, I wouldn't say District 12 is our home. We were able to go anywhere, but now we can't because of the peacekeepers." He takes the microphone over to Coriolanus and he says, "Oh, so what are you doing here? Did your teachers tell you to be here?" Coriolanus, he's got to play this off, right? This is typical Coriolanus right here. "Well, they didn't tell me not to." At this point, the crowd, they are loving this. They erupt in a laughter. And Coriolanus turns over to Lucy Gray and says, "I heard you sing, and I must confess, I'm a fan. I couldn't keep away from you." At this point, they are interrupted by a bunch of peacekeepers coming on in. They stomp on in, and they line up in front of Coriolanus. They tell him, "You are to report into the lab." The lab is not going to be one of his favorite places because we are going to meet a very crucial character in the story, and that is Dr. Voluminous Gall. I meant Dr. Volumnia Gall, not Dr. Voluptuous Gall. Coriolanus is going to arrive at the lab, and he has his memory of Dr. Gall from childhood, where she was casually just talking to the classmates at his class as if it was a lecture. And while she was doing so, she was burning off the flesh of a rat just casually with some lace corner thing. The students are staring. They're not saying anything because who would? She turns over to the students and asks, "Does anyone have a pet that they're sick of?" Coriolanus never got over this. This was seared into his mind, and he had to make sure he was going to not be on Dr. Gall's radar. Dr. Gall doesn't teach at the academy that Coriolanus attends at, but she actually teaches at the university. And not only is Dr. Gall there, but also Dean Casca Highbottom as well. The man is like Snape, and he does not like Snow. As Snow approaches the two adults in the laboratory, Dr. Gall turns over to Dean Highbottom and says, "You see, Casca, this one showed initiative. He knows the importance of the Hunger Games." Dean Highbottom squints at Snow very skeptically. "Are you sure this one's just not looking to get a good grade? Boy, what is the point of the Hunger Games? Tell me, Coriolanus." Coriolanus did not expect this to be an exam, so he's trying to get the answers. To punish the districts for the rebellion." Yes, but punishment can take a myriad of forms. Why the Hunger Games?" Because people love children. Well, some of them do. I don't really know why. Dean Highbottom takes this with satisfaction and turns over to Dr. Gall. "See, I told you, it is a failed experiment." Dr. Gall snaps back and says, "It's only a failed experiment if no one watches." If no one watches. Now we know who the architect is behind all of this with the mentorship program and revamping the Hunger Games. Dr. Gall wants to make sure people are invested in the tributes, to make sure they watch the Hunger Games every freaking year so they are reminded, and the district are reminded as well, about what happens when you betray the Capitol. What happens when you rebel? What are the repercussions? We need to sear this into their brains. Dean Highbottom sort of rolls his eyes and then turns back at the Snow. So tell me, all of that was a performance? Because I don't know, it seems like to me when you were thrown into the monkey pen that you were planning on running away. Well, yes, it was rather more of a physical entrance that I imagined, but I have a lot to learn. And boundaries being one of them. Your actions were reckless. It could have resulted in another student hurting themselves. Because of this, you will be receiving a demerit. A demerit? Yes, a demerit. 3 demerits and you will be expelled. See, I told you guys, we are totally getting Snape vibes from Dean Highbottom. There is some friction going on that Snow doesn't know about, but Dean Highbottom, he's got this insidious hate towards Snow. And even though he used to be friends with Snow's father, is it one of those things where he used to be in love with Snow's mother, maybe? And he has hatred towards Snow? Or maybe he was in love with Snow's father. We don't know yet. We don't know why, but we shall find out hopefully soon. Coriolanus has never received an official reprimand whatsoever. He is like one of the top students at his academy, and he's leaving the laboratory extremely fucking miffed. He goes back home to have some dinner with his family, and then you know what he decides? I'm going to go visit Lucy Gray. I'm going to make another appearance. I'm going to make another appearance. So he hops on over to the zoo to visit her, and he noticed that there's already a crowd there, a crowd of people. As he makes his way through the crowd, he sees the center of it, Sejanus Plint, the kid that he fucking hates, but he has to be nice to him. He noticed Sejanus has a big bag of some sort, and inside of it, there's food. What is Sejanus doing here? Is he trying to outdo me? Is he trying to show me up and steal my thunder away by coming to the zoo? This was my idea. And not only that, he had a pack with him, a pack full of food, a bunch of food that he's able to feed to the tributes. I can't afford this. How am I going to compete with this? As he approaches Sejanus, Sejanus looks pretty defeated. None of them trusts me. They won't take my food. But here, maybe if you give the food to your girl, maybe they'll start eating it. Snow grabs about 2 sandwiches and 2 pieces of plums, and he finds a nice little corner at the monkey zoo where there's a flat rock and he can sit there. Perhaps he can set up like he's having a nice little sit-down dinner with her. Lucy notices and she approaches him. Are those sandwiches for anybody? She accepts the sandwiches and starts nibbling at it, but then she looks over at Snow. Aren't you eating? To Snow, it might look beneath him for him to be sharing a dinner with Lucy Gray. And as he's trying to deny it, his stomach starts growling. I'm just going to eat the sandwich. One by one, each of the children, they get up and start grabbing their sandwiches. However, Sejanus is struggling with his tribute, the District 2 named Marcus. Marcus is refusing the sandwiches. He does not want it. Sejanus reaches on over and tries to give him the sandwich, but Marcus, he turns around and he completely denies it. The reporter from the news company is still around there, and he goes up to Lucy Gray to give her a little mini interview. Lucy Gray mentions that she actually hasn't eaten since the reaping. It's been about 3 days. They haven't been fed. She turns to the camera and makes an appeal to the audience that's watching that if anybody wants to, they can stop by the zoo and they can bring the tributes some food. This does make the news reporter a little bit uncomfortable because they don't know if they're stepping boundaries here. But I mean, Lucy Gray makes a good point. She says, how are we supposed to participate in fighting the Hunger Games if we're all weak and if we're all hungry? And before this conversation, Coriolanus was trying to get Lucy to start singing again, but he felt bad and said, hey, you know, if you don't want to sing, you don't have to. But Lucy, she knows the importance of this. She knows that she probably has to sing to get the audience to be captivated in her so that they can stop by the zoo and bring her some food. She starts singing, and again, Snow is becoming entranced by the lyrics, by her song, by her melody. And this sort of reminds him of his mother. His mother used to sing for him during bedtime, and he takes the time to reminisce about his mother. This was a couple months in after the war had started. There had been air raids that completely immobilized the city. His mother was going into labor and she was bleeding so much. There was blood everywhere on the blankets. They had no idea what was wrong with her. Was it hemorrhaging? What's going on? She ends up passing away, and the baby girl that she was trying to give birth to, his sister, also doesn't make it as well. There is one keepsake that Snow does have from his mother that's really important to him, and that's a compact powder that she used. When he opens it up, it still sort of smells like flowers. Once in a while, he'll go to the compact and he'll smell it just to get a little reminiscent memory of his mom here and there, especially when he misses her. Oh my God, cute corgi butt. So Janus walks up to Snow and says, "Hey, thanks for stepping up." "Oh, no problem. None of our other classmates made an appearance. That already sets us apart from them." So Janus starts looking down at his feet and he says, "Ever since the day of the reaping, I imagine that I'm one of them." This caught Snow off guard. What is Sejanus talking about now? Sejanus' voice drops so low. I can't help it. They read my name. I walk to the stage. Now they cuff me. Now they're hitting me for no reason. Now I'm on the train, in the dark, starving. Now I'm on display in front of all these strangers and all these children. They're staring at me through the bars. It's not going to happen to you, Sejanus. Coriolanus just can't really understand the pity that Sejanus feels for this tribute because after all, he is the capital kid. It's just this whole entire Hunger Games. It's crazy. I can't believe we're sending kids to kill each other. It is evil. It goes against everything that is right in this world. I can't be a part of this. I can't let Marcus be a part of this. I need to get out of this somehow. Tears are starting to fill up in Sejanus' eyes, and this whole thing is making Coriolanus very uncomfortable. He doesn't know how to console us. I don't know if he even cares. The two end up departing from the zoo, and Coriolanus, he ends up home, but he is greeted by his grandmother. To feed her is one thing, but to dine with her is a separate thing. It's as if you think she's your equal. Grandma, she's just a girl. A district girl at that. She hasn't been a girl in a very long time. I told y'all, Grandma, she is snobby as even though she's got no money. She's barely getting by with any food, and she's pretty much living the same conditions as the district people. Well, almost. The next day, after lunchtime, Coriolanus and the other mentors, they were to attend a mandatory seminar. They had to discuss with the class about how to get ways for people to watch the Hunger Games. They discussed maybe punish the people if you don't watch it. Well, punish the people. How are you going to punish the people that are in the capital? Well, easy. We'll execute the people in the district, and if you're part of the capital, we'll just ship you over to the district. Easy peasy. Well, I don't know if that's gonna really work though. Coriolanus kind of pitched a pretty good idea. What if we were to bet on the tributes on who was gonna win the game? Now, people were laughing initially, but the class quickly went into a silence because it was pretty grim. It was a pretty dark suggestion. One of his classmates asked, do you really mean it though? Well, not really. But I mean, if it comes to success, then yes. Imagine me, Coriolanus Snow, going down in history as the person who introduced betting into the Hunger Games. His classmate kind of just shakes her head and then they just walk off into lunch. In his head, though, he was thinking, that was a pretty darn good idea. You see, we're getting a lot of mixed feelings with Coriolanus. Either he's super self-serving and selfish, but maybe he's the type of character, there's room for character development, right? Maybe at some point, the ice and the snow will start to chip away and he'll start to become warmer towards Lucy Gray, and maybe he'll change his ways, just maybe. The students are now going to gather together. They have an assignment to do with their tributes. They have to have a tribute, fill out the questionnaires. This is like things that you answer when you go to the doctor's office, okay? It's like name, age, height, weight, blah, 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 all the boring stuff. But Coriolanus, he's not worried about this. He's already on good terms with Lucy. The other tributes and the other mentors, on the other hand, well, it's really hard for a lot of them to get to them. Some of the tributes, they start crying. Some of the tributes won't answer anything. And some of the tributes are just sitting there and they're just like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I here? And you know what? They were shackled so heavily. Like, they had shackles on their wrists. They had heavy shackles on their ankles. They're barely eating. They're dirty. Like, if you're one of the tributes, you're not going to be answering questions. So you're just going to be like, okay, well, I'm sitting here. I'm going to die anyway. So what is the point of all this? Coriolanus did try to make efforts to take off the shackles off Lucy, but there's no luck. Okay, the peacekeepers, they are not letting him take them off. There is a little bit of flirtation going on with Coriolanus and Lucy, where they go back and forth a little bit. You know, they start asking questions about each other, and Coriolanus, he does start blushing at some point because Lucy, she is flirting back with him. After the icebreaker activity is over, they go back to Dr. Gull's laboratory. Dr. Gull, the crazy one that burns off the rat flesh, yeah, that Dr. Gull. So Dr. Gull goes up to Sejanus and was like, oh, you're the one that bought the sandwiches. Sejanus is like, well, you guys are the ones who are torturing them. You're not feeding them. Dr. Gull is like, well, A rebel sympathizer, I see. So there's a back and forth between Dr. Gold and Sejanus, but here's the thing. No one goes against Dr. Gold because Dr. Gold might be the one who is running things behind the scene. But Sejanus, he's a very righteous person. He's very rooted in how strong his beliefs are. He thinks the whole Hunger Game thing is just a sham. This is horrible. This is torture. Like, we're bringing a bunch of kids here and you're doing this. So there's a lot of back and forth with Sejanus and Dr. Gold. And at some point, Dr. Gold is like, you've given me a great idea. How about we let the audience... Wait, what was the voice that did for Dr. Gold again? Oh, yeah. You've given me a great idea. What if we let the audience bring food for the tributes in the arena? Oh, that's a good idea. Someone else in the classroom chimes, well, Coriolanus did mention that maybe we should put odds on the tributes. Dr. Gold is very intrigued about this idea, and that night she assigns a group project for them to write up this whole thing so she can read about the next day. And Coriolanus is like, he's like all of us, you know, who likes group projects when you're in college, high school? Okay, Coriolanus is like, oh, a group project. Like, oh my God, like seriously, like we have to do a group project? Like, I like working on my own, okay? Because I don't want to share my glory with other people. I don't want to have to rely on other people. You know, it's like the typical group project complaints. So they get a group project assigned to them and we'll see how that goes. Now, the students, they finally go back to where the tributes are, which is at the Monkey Zoo area. And what? Yes? Oh, are you trying to come in? You just gotta push in. You just gotta push in. Oh, so cute. I love corgis. Okay, he's like, no. Where was I again? We're at the Monkey Zoo, right? Okay. The mentors, the students, they are at the Monkey Zoo. I don't really go into a lot of details into other Coriolanus' friends, okay? Because a lot of them don't really matter, but we'll talk about the important ones as we come across them. Let's talk about Arachne. Arachne is one of Coriolanus' sort of like childhood friend. Like they all grew up together. Everyone's like kind of like a tight-knit community sort of, right? Rich people. Arachne is sitting in front of her tribute, a district, is it 10 or 11? A district 10 girl. Now this district 10 girl is quite chatty, but there's something weird going on. Arachne has a sandwich in her hand and she's not giving it to the District 10 girl. No. This Arachne person, she is taunting her. She's got the sandwich in her hand, and when the District 10 girl, she's hungry. She's reaching for it. Arachne pulls back and then she pretends to give the girl the sandwich again, and then she pulls back again. At this point, this girl, her eyes are like boiling up, okay? She's getting pissed off. Arachne takes a bite of the sandwich. Instead of feeding it to the girl, does she start slowly inching down the bars. She reaches for Arachne's knife and quickly slices her throat. At this point, it is panic. People are screaming. There is blood everywhere. Coriolanus is shocked. He doesn't know what to do. But Lucy tells him, help her. Go help her. So Coriolanus quickly gets up and then he tries to help stop the bleeding. He tells people to call for help because no one's really doing anything. He's like the only one that's like jumping to action. Arachne unfortunately does not, well, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, up to you guys, but she doesn't make it because a slice of this area, you ain't gonna make it. So she dies. The District 10 girl, she also did not make it as well. As soon as Arachne's throat was slit, she went for the food and started gobbling it. And as she was trying to shove it down her throat, the peacekeepers came in and they shot her up and she slumped over with food still in her mouth. At this point, everyone is very perplexed about what happened, but Coriolanus remembers there is still a paper that he needs to write for Dr. Gold. And Dr. Gold doesn't seem like the type of person who would take excuses. So he goes back home, strips off his clothes, and he's unable to fall asleep. So instead, he gets lost into writing this paper about the proposal for offering gifts to the tributes in the arena. And not only that, but also making bets on who's gonna win. Potentially ways to get people to be drawn into watching the Hunger Games. He spends up all night, all into dawn until the paper's written, and he drops it off at the Citadel. Now, the Citadel is where there's a war department because Dr. Gold, she has many hats. She's like a, I don't know, like a factotum, right? She's a researcher. She's part of the war department. She's part of academics as well. So he drops off at the Citadel, hoping the paper will get to her. And as Coriolanus is going back into his normal routine, back to classes, seeing his classmates, he's being recognized as a hero. And although he's trying to be modest, like, oh, no, I'm being so modest, deep inside, he is relishing every freaking moment of it. He soon gets interrupted in what he's doing, and him and his classmate Clemencia, you see, the group project they were working on, this paper, it was supposed to be with Arachne, another classmate Clemencia, and Coriolanus. I think it's pronounced Clemencia or Clementia. Clementia kind of sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like a disease or something, or like an STD. I think it's Clemencia. I haven't seen the movie yet. So him and Clemencia, they make their way to meet with Dr. Gold, and Clemencia is like, oh my God, I can't believe you wrote the paper. I was up all night crying. Coriolanus is like, well, I mean, I couldn't really sleep, so I mean, I might as well just do something. And she's like, well, did you at least put my name on it? So they make their way to Dr. Gold's lab, and as they're going there, there's a lot of really weird experiments going on, like a bunch of animals that are like Frankenstein's, and they finally make their way to Dr. Gold's lab, and she's standing there, not by herself. There's a tank full of snakes. These snakes, however, it looks like you're like on a LSD trip or something. They are in like psychedelic colors or like vibrant rainbow colors. And she's just like standing there. And she's like, oh, so you guys wrote this paper. Coriolanus is like, well, Arachne was gonna join us too, but you know, she kind of died. And so Clemencia, she chimes in and she's like, yeah, we were up all night writing this. We were at the library. And Dr. Gold looks at Coriolanus. Oh, is that right? Coriolanus is like, well, I mean, I did drop it off this morning. Like, he's not really lying. He's like throwing in facts in there. Not quite a lie. Dr. Gold is like, well, you guys won't have an issue with fetching the paper in the snake tank, do you? And they're kind of like apprehensive, like, okay, like, what the fuck is this? Kind of have to listen to what she says. And so Coriolanus goes first. He goes in there, reaches his hand very slowly, very gingerly, and grabs one sheet of the paper. The snakes don't stir. They don't do anything. And he's like, oh, it's as if they don't even realize I'm here. Dr. Gold's like, okay, Clemencia, it's your turn. So Clemencia just saw Coriolanus getting the paper and no issues at all. And so she's like slowly reaching in. And as she's doing this, Dr. Gold is like, yeah, you know, these snakes, as long as there is a familiar scent, they won't stir. However, a new scent, they're going to see that as danger. At this point, Coriolanus realizes, holy shit, I finally just realized what's going on here. Clemencia is attacked by all these snakes. She's getting bit. They're just biting her all over. She screams, she yanks her hands out, and she starts oozing like neon colors out of these puncture wounds. All these lab people come in and they start giving her shots, and she like passes out. And it is a shit show, okay? Coriolanus is like shocked. He's like, what is going on? Like, I knew Dr. Gold was crazy, but like, she's dangerous. I gotta be careful of this woman. And as Clemencia is being dragged out of the lab, Dr. Gold changes her attention over to Coriolanus. I guess her scent isn't on it, so you must have been who wrote it. Yes. Good. I have no use for liars. But what if she did write it and he printed out and she didn't actually touch the paper? Like, oh, okay, I got questions, but whatever. She does tell Coriolanus that she does like his proposal. He leaves the lab and he visits Lucy. He wants to tell Lucy all about it, but he doesn't because he knows Lucy has better things to worry about, okay? The woes that he has is nothing comparison to her having to fight in the Hunger Games. He sees her, and this time he brings her 2 crackers. Because again, Coriolanus, he doesn't really have access to food. He doesn't have food at home, so he can't be bringing like meat sandwiches that Sejanus is bringing, okay? And plums and things like that. But Coriolanus, you know, he goes over there and he finds out from Lucy that Lucy has actually allied up. She's going to ally up with Jessup, the District 12 boy. Y'all remember Jessup? He's the one that helped Lucy down the train. And although Jessup is not very smart, but he's strong as a baby ox. The conversation ends short because the peacekeeper tells Coriolanus that he's got to get the hell out of here. As he's leaving, he's telling Lucy over and over again, Lucy, you matter to me. You matter to me. Oh my God, the love, the romance, it is budding right now. We switch gears over to Arachne's memorial. The District 10 girl who's responsible for Arachne's death, she is hung by a hook and his body is like ridden with bullets. It is bloody, and it is a stark reminder to the rebels that these are the repercussions of your retaliation. Now we're over at the food hall with Sejanus, and you guys remember Coriolanus hates Sejanus with a passion. This is the District 2 kid who is living in the capital, and Sejanus, he is very troubled about everything that has happened so far. He just couldn't eat, you know? Like after seeing dead body like that dangling with bullets all over, like who wants to eat after that? So he couldn't really eat his food, but apparently even though you get free food at the academy, you are not allowed to be wasting food, okay? You can get in real trouble for that. So Sejanus puts Coriolanus in kind of a tough spot because he can't eat, and Coriolanus, I guess, tries to help him. Like, I think maybe at some point Coriolanus is starting to develop some friendship feelings towards Sejanus, and he actually offers to hide Sejanus' food in his napkin. He decides to take this food and give it to Lucy later on because, you know, Lucy, she ain't eating nothing. After they're done with this, there is an announcement for all the mentors to report to the arena. They are to give the tributes a tour of this huge amphitheater arena, and this arena is not cleaned up after every Hunger Games game, okay? There's so blood everywhere. Everything's a mess. There's like craters, there's bullets and stuff like that. Weapons and stuff are removed, but it is a mess of a theater. So they all go through, they tour with the mentors and the tributes. And at some point, Lucy and Coriolanus, they're flirting, they're having this chit chat. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, 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 boom. Bombs are exploding everywhere. Students are screaming, tributes are yelling, and like peacekeepers are trying to come in. There are bombs exploding. And at some point, Coriolanus gets pinned by a giant beam. He is panicking. He can't get out. At some point, he sees in the corner of his eye Lucy Gray. She's about to make a run for it, but he calls out after her because he needs help to get off this beam off of him. And so he sees her hesitant. Like she's like about to run in the opposite direction. She looks at him. He's yelling out at her like, Lucy Gray, please help me, Lucy. And she looks towards the other direction again, but then she decides to make up her mind and come and save Coriolanus. She helps get the beam off. He's able to get up on his feet. And I think he like blacks out and he wakes up at a hospital. Wakes up at the hospital and he's greeted by his family members. We got Tigress, we got the Grand Mem, and why did I say Grand Mem like that? But he's awoken by his family members and they say like, oh, you're alive. And he's like, well, what happened? What happened to Lucy? What happened to Lucy? Is she okay? And they're like, we don't really know what happened to any of them, but we did hear that any of the tributes that were wounded, they're being taken care of by a veterinarian right now. Okay, so see, the Capitol, they don't even treat these tributes as humans. They treat them like animals. The only care they're getting are from vets, okay? They're not going to the human hospital. Coriolanus learns that he actually lost, I think, 2 of his classmates. These are the twins that he was in good terms with. He's a little bit sad that they died. There was 3 other mentors that got severely hurt. One of them actually lost both of his legs. And as for the tribute, apparently someone from District 1 and District 2, they made their escape. The District 1 person got shot up. They didn't make it out alive. The second person tried jumping off a cliff and I don't know, they didn't make it as well. Okay, they fell to their death, so that's not good. So we've got a lot of kids that are injured, some kids that are dying. Like this is a shit show. Oh, and I completely forgot about Sejanus's tribute. Marcus, that's his name by the way, he disappeared completely. They have no idea where he is. This kid is roaming around in the Capitol somewhere and they cannot locate him. Now as Coriolanus is resting up at the hospital. He's going in and out. He's resting there. He's being committed there. And he gets woken up by Clemencia. Now, remember, Clemencia is the one that got bitten by those rainbow snakes and she was oozing out a rainbow glitter, okay? She was just oozing everywhere. And she wakes him up and she's like, what's going on? Like, where have you been? Like, how come no one's visited me? No one knows that I'm here. Dr. Gold's trying to kill me. He notices that on her body, she had like scales like everywhere, like these rainbow scales. And he's like, what the fuck happened to you? And she's like, I don't know, but they keep multiplying. Like, I don't know what's going on. And at some point, she gets dragged away by the hospital staff because, she snuck over to go see Coriolanus. She's not supposed to be there. And, maybe Dr. Gold is trying to kill her after all. But Coriolanus, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it, okay? He's trying to stay out of Dr. Gold's sight. He doesn't want to get another demerit. He doesn't want to get expelled. So he's trying to be on her good side. Rip Clemencia. Finally, Coriolanus, he is all healed up. He feels way better. And he decides to go visit Lucy Gray. Because after all, Lucy Gray did save his life. So he goes there, he talks to her. And he's like, you saved my life. You saved my life. Like, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. And she's like, well, there is one thing. You can start believing me that I can win this. Because this entire time, he didn't believe that she was going to win. He was just going to use her for the audience to get in love with her, have her perform. But he didn't really think she had a chance. She's like a girl. She's like small. There was like other guys in there who were competing. There were big dudes there. And, he didn't really think she stood a chance. Hopefully she can just run and hide, right? But she wants him to believe in her. Also, at this point, I was wondering, was she part of the bombings that happened in the arena? Because she was looking like she was hesitant to leave. Maybe someone was going to do the bombings and then like have I don't know, like some sort of a distraction so the tributes can run and leave or something like that. So at this point, I was like, what was Lucy Gray looking at? What was she trying to run away from? But she decided to save Coriolanus because maybe she was starting to like him. Oh, okay. So now that's the end of part 1. We're now in part 2 called The Prize. Each of the tributes, they're going to get a chance to go up to the stage in front of the audience and either do performance or do an interview. But whatever it is they do, they have to get the audience to want to give them money, to donate, okay? Just so they have food while they're in the arena. So they came up with an idea with Lucy. Of course, she's going to sing, but how to enhance her performance? Well, Lucy was like, hey, do you think you can like help me get your hands on a guitar perhaps? And so Snow, he was like, oh, I got someone. He goes over to Pluribus Club. Pluribus? These names are so weird. And if you remember, this is the same Pluribus who sold a bunch of beans to the Snow family. Okay, the granny knew there's gonna be a food shortage, so she bought a ton of beans, and that is how they survived during the war. They for sure were farting up a storm. Pluribus, he lent Snow a guitar, and he also casually mentions like, oh, you know, Dean Highbottom used to come here with your dad. They used to be so rowdy at the nightclub, and Coriolanus had a hard time believing this because he just remembered his dad as being a very stoic guy. And also, why does Dean Highbottom hate him so much? What was the fault between him and his dad? We fast forward to the night of the interviews. Lucy goes up there, she performs, and she does a stellar freaking job. But instead of feeling excited, Coriolanus actually felt extreme jealousy. You see, the song that she was singing about was about a lover, and it wasn't about Coriolanus. No, it's about some loose ties back in her District 12. And so he confronts her about this, and she's like, oh, you know, like, this is just something that, like, don't worry, it's not really a thing anymore. Coriolanus is, like, kind of skeptical, but what is he gonna do, right? He's just gonna believe her. He goes home, he vents to Tigress. Remember, cousin Tigress, we like her. He vents to her, and Tigress is standing up for our girl Lucy, okay? Tigress is saying that, like, you know, just imagine, she's lost her family. Who knows what kind of things she had to do during times of war, and, like, give her some sympathy, okay? Tigress is looking out for our girl. Cousin Tigress sends a message to Lucy and tells Coriolanus, hey, tell her we're rooting for her. Grandmam, on the other hand, is like, tell her we're sorry she has to die, okay? This bitch doesn't even believe in her, doesn't think she's gonna win. Like, who's gonna pass on a message like that? Grandmam, come on, you can do better. So Coriolanus, he absorbs this in, and he goes back to Lucy. He tells her, congratulations, you know, we got a lot of money coming in from you. You're gonna be well fed. You got like 3 times the amount of like any other tributes out there. He also wants to take this moment and make it special. He decides to give her his mom's compact powder. Now, this is the powder that he would casually just snap open and smell the smell of like roses when he's going through things, when he's feeling down. So him giving this to her, it's kind of like a sign of like, hey, you know, I expect you to make it out alive, and when you do, give it back to me, right? She's like in love with this. Now, apparently there is something in that compact, and Lucy understood immediately, okay? Our girl is quick. Me, on the other hand, I was like, wait, what's in there? Like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, did I miss something? I didn't get it till later on, okay? But Lucy gives this huge, luscious kiss over to Coriolanus, and this is the first time he's got a kiss on the lips. Well, I don't know if it was his first time. He mentioned like having a thing with this girl, but whatever. Let's just pretend it's his first time, okay? He was like, oh my God, he was getting like butterflies in his stomach. Like, this is his real kiss, you know? And he goes home and like he can't really sleep. He's like thinking about the kiss and stuff like that. Like, this man is like in love, okay? Next day, we are at the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games is starting. And at this point, there's only 13 tributes left because another boy had just recently passed away, and he passed away, I think, of like asthma or something. I'm not really quite sure what kind of Hunger Games this is because we already lost almost like half of the tributes, but this is a 10th Hunger Games series, okay? Things, like I said, were very different back then. So each of the mentors, they get something called a what is it called? Communicuff, okay? They get a communicuff, each one, and this communicuff shows all of the donations coming in, and from then on you can choose, you know, what you want to give to your tributes. You can give them food, water, medicine, and they're gonna be flown in by the drone. This is our first time implementing this. It's gonna be a little bit janky. Now we finally get to hear back from Clemencia again. I realized why I thought her name sounded like SD because it kind of sounds like chlamydia. So Clemencia comes in, and she's the one who's got the snake scales, and she thinks Dr. Gold is out to kill her. Everyone was like, oh, you know, Clemencia, they just thought she had the flu. That was what was in the grapevine, that Clemencia was very sick, and she came strolling in. She looked really sick, and she was trying to conceal the scales that she had, but the scales, they stopped multiplying. They were actually getting better, but she herself was looking very unwell. Another person who shows up, we also got Sejanus. Janus shows up, and he just doesn't look very well. He looks like he's like sickly, tired, whatever. And as he's coming in, the Hunger Games is starting. The tributes are making their way into the arena, but you see, it was a very gruesome sight. There was a beam in the middle of the arena, and from that beam hung a child's body. This was the body of Marcus, the District 2 boy. Remember Marcus? He had escaped during the explosions. They had no idea what happened to him, where he was. He was probably roaming around the capital somewhere. Well, he got caught. And for that, he is punished. Sejanus, he completely loses it because, again, this is his tribute. And it's not like he's losing it because he wants to win the game or anything, but they were from the same district, District 2. Sejanus has a lot of empathy towards the district kids, even though he shouldn't because he's part of the Capitol now, but he's got a lot of empathy towards them, and he freaks the F out. He picks up an empty chair and throws it at the TV screen and storms off. No one chases after him. It's just kind of quiet, a little bit awkward. And then all of a sudden, on the screen, wished you placed the bet, but you couldn't make it to the post office? Finally decided on a tribute to back? You can do it now. By phone, call the number below and give your citizen number. Give us the name of the tribute and the dollar amount you'd like to donate, and you could be a part of this action right now, or rather part of this transaction in person. The post office will be open from 8 to 8. I don't know. I can't wait to watch all this ridiculousness on the big screens because I haven't seen the movie yet. I hope the movie's good. I don't know. Is the movie good? Is it worth watching? Now, as the game has started, all the tributes, they are scrambling. A lot of the weak ones, they go straight into hiding because if you're going to go run to where the weapons are, there's a chance that you might get killed by one of the stronger kids. We're going to focus on Lamina. Lamina is a District 7 tribute, and she is from the Lumber District, okay? So she's really good with the axe. That is her choice of the weapon. She takes her axe, and she sees where Marcus is, and she decides to climb up. So the beam where Marcus is located is like 2 beams right here. There's a beam going in the middle, and Marcus is hanging from the middle right here. So she chooses one side, she climbs up it, she shimmies her way over to Marcus, and as she's doing this, we realize that Marcus is still alive. He is not dead. She bends on over, whispers something to him, and we can't hear it because the microphones, they're not picking it up. You can see his lips moving, replying back to her, and at this point, she steadies herself. She gets her axe ready, and then she plows it down Marcus's neck. Not once, not twice, but 3 times because that's how long it took to kill Marcus. And what's supposed to be a somber moment ends up being a moment of craze. The crowd is going crazy. There's a phone number flashing on their screens telling them to call this number, donate money to Lamina, and she's getting beep, 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 like a bunch of pings are coming in, and she's getting donations coming in for her first kill. Our next tribute that I want to talk about is Jessup. Jessup is from the same district as Lucy Gray, District 12, and they decided to ally up. His mentor's name is Liz Estrada. I don't know, sounds like Lysol. I don't what is up with these names? Liz Estrada feels like she owes her life to Jessup because when that bombing took place, remember the bombings? He actually jumped over her body to shield her from the bombs, which is really weird because why would a district kid do this for a capital kid? He's a good person, I guess. She feels like she really owes him, and she's trying to team up with Coriolanus so they can both have their tributes make it to almost the very end, right? Now let's go over to our girl Clemencia. Her tribute's name is Reaper, and he was the one that seemed favored to win. I think he has like a pretty good build. It's a guy, good chance of making it alive. But the weird thing about Reaper that I did mention before was before the Hunger Games started a couple days ago, he actually went up to each and every tribute and said that he was sorry. He was essentially apologizing in advance for having to kill them because, you know, he wants to make it alive too, but he knows what he's got to do. Out comes Reaper with a very limp girl in his arms. Everyone's like, who is that? Who does he have in his arms? Oh my God, is she dead? And it turns out that was a girl who was also from his district as well. Now, this girl was very weak. People didn't really think she was going to make it. She was very sickly. And apparently she was suffering from tuberculosis. Reaper sits her body in the middle of the arena and he's a little bit hesitant, but he leaves her. At some point, she does end up dying of natural causes. So that's one less tribute. We're at the point where there's not a lot going on with the Hunger Games right now. If it wasn't for Lamina mercifully ending Marcus's life, really nothing has happened. The students are dismissed and Snow, he goes back to his home, but he doesn't get to sleep in his nice cozy bed. Instead, he is greeted by none other than Sejanus's mom. What is she doing there? She's over there, she's crying, she's sobbing. Cousin Tigress, Grandmam is trying to console her. And you gotta remember, Grandmam is stuck up, okay? She does not like this woman who's originally from District 2 to be in her house, especially at like odd times of the hour. And she's trying to get rid of her. You know, she's trying to sympathize and show that she's got class, but she's trying to kick her out of the house, okay? And so Coriolanus gets there and he's like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? And she's crying, saying like, oh, I don't know where Sejanus is. Like, I don't know where my boy is. What happened to him? Like, oh. They have no idea. Snow is trying to usher this woman out of his house. And as he's doing that, the TV is on in the living room. The woman glances over and then she realizes, she's like, oh, that's my boy. That's my boy over there. Sejanus was on the TV screen in the arena with all the tributes. So at this point, Dr. Gull's like calling Coriolanus, was like, what is your friend doing there? Cortland is like, I have no idea. He's not really my friend. Like, I'm just being nice to him. But everyone's like, no, you guys are friends, okay? Like, don't act like you're not friends. And so Coriolanus, he's not going to get any sleep tonight. He gets his butt hauled back to the arena, and they want him to go inside and rescue Sejanus. They want him to go in there and drag Sejanus' butt back in. And Coriolanus is like, why me? You're probably the only one that can coax him out of there. Like, we can't be sending his mom in there. This is your mission. You got to do this. You're the only one. Oh, God. Like, I'm not even close friends with this dude, even though I'm trying to be nice to him. But, like, I got to listen to these people because, you know, I'm trying to do everything I can to not get a demerit, everything I can to get that prize money. So he's in a very tight spot. He agrees to it. And the peacekeepers are like, don't worry, we got your back. You know, if anything happens, we got your back. So he goes in there to rescue Sejanus, and he slowly approaches Sejanus. Sejanus is quiet. He's hovering over Marcus's body, and they have a discussion for a little bit. Sejanus at this point wants to die. He is waiting for the other tribute kids to come out and attack him because he just feels lost, you know? Coriolanus is like, well, you've got a lot of money. You can actually do something with your fortune. If you really want to take down Dr. Goal, then you can do it later on with your money. This convinces Sejanus. Sejanus is like, you're right. Like, I'll go back. I'll go with you. But it's a little bit too late. At this point, there were some other tribute kids that realized, oh shit, the Capital Mentors, they're in here. And even though they don't gain anything from killing the mentors, they're doing anyways because they are bloodthirsty, okay? But this is because they are dragged in here and they probably want revenge because the Capital Kids, it's not like they're participating in the Hunger Games. So they are being surrounded by the tribute kids and they make a run for it. They are dipping out, trying to make a run for it. And Coriolanus is like, where are the peacekeepers? I thought they had my back. Like, where's the backup here? No stir from the peacekeepers whatsoever. They are running and running. And one of the tribute kids does catch up with Coriolanus. Their name is, what was their name again? I forgot the name. Bobbin catches up to Coriolanus, and Bobbin is like about to strike him with the knife. And Coriolanus takes the nearest plank and beats the crap out of Bobbin, okay? He's doing everything he can to survive, and Bobbin ends up dying right then and there. Not only that, though, because there are other kids chasing them as well. One of the damn kids had an actual trident. Like, who has a trident for a weapon? One of the kids had a trident and, like, throws it. Fucking, like, Aquaman throws it right at Coriolanus, but luckily it misses. And at that point, they get pulled in finally by the peacekeepers, and Sejanus and Coriolanus, they make it. However, there's no welcome party for them. There's no one there. Sejanus' mom is already gone. Dr. Gall and Dean Highbottom are too busy arguing about something with audio. And Coriolanus is pissed, okay? He had to rescue this kid that he didn't even like. No one's even here to appreciate him. He does get a ride back to get his, because he does have wounds at this point. I think he got stabbed in the leg or something. He gets medical help from the laboratory where Dr. Gall works out. And when he shows up there, lo and behold, who is there but Dr. Gall. And as she's mending him, she shares a story that she used to work in obstetrics, okay, which is wild to me because that is, you're working with people that are giving birth to babies, okay? Can you imagine, like, you're a baby and the first thing you see is Dr. Gall, this woman burning flesh off of rats? Maybe something in that field caused her to be this twisted. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't like babies or something. Maybe they drove her crazy. Dr. Gall, she had the gall to ask Coriolanus this question. So, what was it like in the arena? Terrifying. What did you think of them now that their chains had been removed? That they tried to kill you? It was no benefit to them. It's not like you were the competition. I think I underestimated how much they hated us. And when you realized that, what was your response? I wanted them dead. I wanted all of them dead. Oh, how quickly civilization disappears. All your fun matters, your education, family background, everything you pride yourself up, stripped away in a blink of an eye. A boy with a club beats another boy to death. Snow's gonna retort this and say, well, I wouldn't have done this if you didn't put me in this arena, if you didn't put me in this bad environment. And she's like, well, it doesn't really matter anyways. I mean, I kind of agree with Snow, okay? He wouldn't have done this if he wasn't thrown into an area where he had to defend himself, defend for his life. There is an inner struggle within Snow. Yes, he is a capital kid. We do see traits of selfishness. We do see lots of traits of entitlement. But there is a struggle within him because he's now exposed to Lucy Gray, a district girl. He's got feelings for her and she's kind of showing him a different side. But he has this very large looming presence of Dr. Gall hovering above him. there's an inner struggle within him that's tugging and pulling, tugging and pulling. There's this inner force, and it's with different people in his lives. There's Tigers that's influencing. There's Dr. Gull that's influencing. There's Lucy Gray, and then also even the kid that he doesn't like, Sejanus Plinth. Since the beginning of the mentorship program, Dr. Gull, she sees a potential in Coriolanus, and she's trying to bring that potential out. She's trying to explore it. It's almost as if she's treating him like a scientific experiment. And I think that although it's been 10 years since the war has ended, Panem is still trying to figure out how to sort the aftermath of the war. Like, yes, they have the Hunger Games, but what's really important is how to get all the districts together and align them, control them. And in order to do that, we have to understand human at their core. And that's what it seems like she wants Snow to realize based on these stupid writing assignments, based off doing these activities and having these conversations with her. She's like jabbing slowly at him, trying to influence him. But at the same time, does he need influencing, or is it already within him? Now, I have to confess, I have read the Hunger Games before, like I told y'all, but it's been a long time since I read the Hunger Game. Every time I read Coriolanus Snow, I was, man, this name kind of sounds familiar. Whatever. It sounds familiar. Snow, sounds familiar. It wasn't until we got to, like, I think this part of the passage where I was like, wait a second. Wasn't there a President Snow? Wasn't there an evil guy named President Snow in the original Hunger? Oh my God, this is him. This is his origin story. Yes, I told y'all, I went into this book pretty blind, okay? I didn't do like a catch-up read with the Hunger Games or anything like that. Maybe about the districts, but I completely forgot who Snow was. And I was like, oh, this is going to show how this guy became evil and whether he was inherently evil. Was it because of his environment? What are the influences? Like like, okay, this is going to be kind of interesting. So I know a lot of you guys probably already knew this from the beginning of the story, but I didn't. Okay. So I'm just telling you guys how my reading process was as I read this book. So now I'm like, okay, we get it now. We get what's going on here. All right. So I thought we're just focusing on the origin of the Hunger Games and all that, which I do think is interesting, but we are truly focusing on President Snow and the genesis of the evil within him. Based on Dr. Gull's conversation with Coriolanus, we get a glimpse into Dr. Gull's mind. It seems that she believes humans are naturally more animalistic and we are held together by a thin veil of control, government, law, order. They have this conversation and she's like, well, I hope you can reflect on yourself. Be true with your feelings. And she pushes Snow to really think about what are humans, because based on what humans are depends on what type of control, what type of government needs to be implemented later on. So now we're seeing the development of President Snow in the future of Panem with Katniss Everdeen 60 to 70 years down the road. And it's interesting that Suzanne Collins gave Dr. Gull the former profession of being in obstetrics, dealing with mothers delivering babies. And I wonder, during her time in that former profession, did she kind of just zone out at times and just stare at those babies being delivered, thinking to herself, are these babies born with a clean slate, also known as tabula rasa, or have the personalities of these babies already been formed? Are they already born evil? Are they already born good? Coriolanus gets assigned another project to work on. Ah, yes, chaos, control, a social contract. Better get home and get some sleep for your tribute tomorrow. Coriolanus is given another assignment, and I don't know if he's starting to realize that he's the only one getting these assignments. The next day, we get back to the Hunger Game arena, and the students realize there is a dead body in the arena. Dr. Gull had orchestrated a blackout where you can't really see what transpired the night before with Sejanus in the arena and with Coriolanus going in to rescue him. And so it just seems like, okay, well, someone died, but we don't know how it did it. Was it rigged? What happened? Like, the mentor for that dead student was obviously not happy, but we move on. Sejanus makes a very important announcement, and this is something that's going to light up the eyes of Coriolanus Snow. Sejanus is like, well, whoever wins this Hunger Games, the mentor is going to get a full ride scholarship to the university. And he's saying it more like less enthused than I am right now. But I guess this is a way for his parents to deal with what Sejanus did the night before, sneaking into the arena when he wasn't supposed to. And so this lights up Snow's eyes because he needs the money to go to the university. So now he's got two ways of winning. He can either win and get the money, the plinth prize, in order to get a full ride scholarship to the university, Or, if he's top of the student, he can still get the academic award and get a crap ton of money to support his family. So he is a little bit excited. As the Hunger Games continue, another girl dies, and she is also death by trident. Okay, I don't know. We got Aquaman running around in the arena here. Lucy finally emerges out of her hiding, but she's not just coming out slowly, calmly. She's running. Okay, she's running really fast. Something is chasing after her, and it is Jessup, the other District 12 boy. But wait a second, aren't they supposed to be allies? Jessup is running after her, but if you look very closely and zooming in closer to the corners of his mouth, there is foam coming out of there. He had contracted rabies from these rats that he got bitten by in the district. So he's running around rapidly. He's chasing after her, and she's climbing up, trying to get some distance between the two of them. And at some point, Jessup ends up falling to his death. So Lucy Gray is all alone, no ally, and she quickly collects the food that Snow sends over to her by the drone, and she goes back into hiding again. Our next tribute, Lamina, the girl who was on those beams. 3 kids start emerging out of the darkness, and these are actually the 3 same kids that attacked Coriolanus and Sejanus the night before. 2 of the kids are climbing up the beam where Lamina is on, and they are slowly inching their way towards her. The 3rd kid, this is the Aquaman kid, okay? 3rd kid's on the floor, and he's got the trident, and he is throwing at Lamina. She's trying to dodge it, but at the same time, she's trying to fight off these 2 kids that are coming towards her. She ends up fighting one of the kids off, pushes them, and they fall down. But at this point, she's not really paying attention because she's trying to, it's hard to multitask. You got 3 pursuers coming after you. The kid on the ground throws the trident. The other one catches it, and at that point, plunges the trident into Lamina's stomach. She falls over, and that is the end of her. As these 3 kids were celebrating, 2 of the kids end up betraying the other one. But I'm thinking, if you're the 2 kids that betrayed the 3rd person, you better sleep with your eye open because you're going to start betraying each other. Now, do we remember Reaper? Reaper is the boy who went to each of the tributes and apologized to each of them in advance, saying like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to kill you. I'm going to have to do what I have to do. And so Reaper, he hasn't really been getting into battles with anyone. He's been staying to himself. I think the kids don't really want to go after him because they see him as a powerful foe. But Reaper does emerge here and there. And what he does, he takes the dead bodies in the arena and he'll line them all up. He'll close their eyes, kind of like a way to respect the dead. Coriolanus lets out a deep sigh, and he is just happy that Lucy has made it this far. Now, he ends up going back to the lab where Dr. Goal is, and he sees a large tank of snakes. But they're not stationary. They're being moved hurriedly by other lab assistants. And at this point, Coriolanus is like, holy shit, they are going to leash out the snakes in the arena, and Lucy Gray is going to die. At this point, there's a lot that he's fighting for. He's got the prize money for being the top student, but then there's also the plinth prize where he could be guaranteed to win and get a full ride to the university. And so he reaches into his pocket, grabs a handkerchief that has Lucy's scent on it, and he drops it into the snake tank. Now, there's a lot of snake in those tanks because, they're moving around and they are slowly covering up the handkerchief. No one sees it, and he realizes, am I going to get in trouble for cheating? Because remember, at this point, he's already got 1 demerit from Mr. Highbottom, the guy that hates him, aka Snape. And so 2 more demerits and he's going to be expelled from the school. He might get in trouble for this. But you know what? Maybe no one's going to know. Maybe no one's going to find about this anyways. They're just going to dump the snakes, right? At least Lucy will win. He's also worried because he had snuck food to Lucy a couple times as well, and you can get in trouble with that. And not only that, do y'all remember the compact that he gave Lucy? This is his mother's old powder compact that he would open up and smell. Well, he actually emptied out the compact and replaced it with something else. Can y'all guess what it might be? Now that you know who Coriolanus Snow is, you know who he is in the future, what did he use to get rid of the people that opposed him? So we got a lot going on in Coriolanus' mind. And not only that, but Sejanus' father wants to speak to him. But hey, maybe this is not a bad thing after all. Maybe Sejanus' father wants to give me a reward for rescuing his son. So Coriolanus is anticipating this meeting. He's meeting with this powerful man, this guy who has a lot of money. He's from former District 2. And as they're having this conversation, he's just waiting for Sejanus' father to be like, okay, well, here's a big reward that you're going to get. And none of it's ever mentioned. Sejanus' father says goodbye to him, shakes hands, and he is left feeling very disappointed because he wanted that reward money. He wanted that money to pay off the apartment. He wants that money for the tax property, to get better clothes, to pay his family for food and all that stuff. He wants that money, okay, period. He didn't get any of it. This exchange with Sejanus Plant's father left him agitated. And don't forget about the assignment that he had to do for Dr. Gold. What were the 3 C's again? Chaos, control. Ah, yes, contract. Let's start with chaos. Confusion, disorder, kind of like how it was in the arena. The arena had no laws, no rules, no consequences. Now, what if the world operated in such a way? At the terror of him becoming prey, how quickly he had to become the predator, smashing Bobbin's head with a plank over and over and over again until Bobbin died. He's transformed all right, but not into something that he's proud of. No, no, no. He is the Snow. He's able to exert more control than most ordinary people. What if the world operated exactly the same as how it was in the arena, a place with no consequences? It'll be just exactly the same as the war times that he had experienced before, the times where he was even too scared to leave the apartment, where there was lawlessness even in the capital. The lack of law. Is that what Dr. Gold meant by social contract? The agreement to not to rob, abuse, or kill one another? It had to be. And the law, it required enforcement. That is where control comes in. Without the control to enforce the contract, chaos will reign. This is why the capital needs to exert their power over the district. You see, Snow, he is part of the capital and he thinks he's better than most people. He thinks other people are savages or unable to control themselves without the influence of the capital. He's scribbling all this down. He's like, okay, I'm done with this assignment. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. It's time to go to sleep. But what he doesn't realize yet, and you and I do, we realize how important this assignment ends up being. Let's get back to the arena. One of the tributes comes out and she is scavenging for food, scavenging for water. She finds a water bottle and quickly drinks it. She's like so thirsty. She already displays signs of weakness, signs of her slowly dying. And at some point she drops down and she never gets up ever again. Now, how exactly did this tribute die? Let's go back to the compact powder that Coriolanus gave to Lucy. He replaced it with poison, and that is what happened to one of the contenders. She drank the water and Lucy had already laced it with poison, and that is what she died of. However, no one had any suspicions because this girl was already kind of on her last limb. She was already very sickly anyways, so there goes another contender. At this point, we have an announcement that is made on the big screen, and unfortunately, one of the Academy students passed away as a result of the bombings. I think it was the student that lost both of his legs. And so Dr. Gold's response to this was, we must punish the rebels who did this. And in order to do that, we are going to have a little surprise for their children in the arena. As if being in the Hunger Games isn't already bad enough, there is a drone that flies in and here comes the giant pit of snakes. Remember Coriolanus, he dropped a handkerchief in there. And remember, these snakes, if they are not familiar with your scent, they're going to think you're a threat and they're going to come after you. So the snakes are unleashed and they are slinging around everywhere. All the tributes are running and some of them are getting taken down. They're being poisoned, similar to what happened to Clemencia, except there is no antidote to clear the venom. As the chaos is happening, we hear a little tune coming from the small corners of the arena. Out comes one of the caves is Lucy Gray. She's coming out, she's singing a tune, and she's got all the snakes. They are chasing after her, but not in a very threateningly way. They are actually entranced by her music. It's as if they're like mesmerized by her. They are following her around. All the other snakes that were attacking the other tribute, they stop what they're doing and they turn their gaze over to Lucy Gray and they start following after her. She starts singing. She gives them a little lullaby and that's how the night ends. Poor Lucy. I don't know how long she was singing for to keep those snakes, I don't know, like to keep them busy. But anyways, it is the next morning and the snakes have died off. Either they drown or maybe they're like lab animals. They're not made to last long. But either way, the snakes are dead. We've got one of the tributes and this tribute is from the tech district. They were actually able to hack a drone and get the drone to attack and kill another kid. Now, as they were about to celebrate their victory, boom, comes another tribute and swings an axe down right down her head and splits her apart. Sorry, that was kind of graphic. Yeah, splits her apart. So now we're down to the final 3. We got Lucy, we got Paul Bunyan with the axe, and then we got Reaper. Lucy comes out. She's getting hungry. She's getting thirsty. And as she's collecting all the goodies around her, she doesn't realize that the Paul Bunyan kid was coming from behind her and he was about to start attacking her. She tries to run, but at the very last moment, he grabs her wrist and he's about to swing that axe down right upon her. And she makes this quick decision to go in for a hug and holds him for a little bit. Now we're thinking, why are they hugging? Is she trying to maybe seduce him? The kid all of a sudden drops dead. You see, Lucy Gray, when she was going in for that hug, she had a little snake in her hand, and that snake bit the kid, and he was shortly poisoned as well. Now we're left to 2 kids, Lucy Gray and Reaper. Now I should be torn, but I've been cheering for Reaper. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm not doing Reaper any justice. We try to talk about him as much as we can, but Reaper seems like I don't know. I'm cheering. I like Lucy too, I guess, but I really do like Reaper. Okay. Reaper's the one who is respecting all the fallen tributes. He's lining all the bodies up. He's putting flags on top of their bodies so their dead bodies are not exposed for the TV to see. And he was the one that went around to every kid and apologized to them. So now it's just Lucy and Reaper. And I'm like, okay. So I guess at this point, Reaper's just going to be like, fuck it, I'm going to go after Lucy. Nope, that does not happen, okay? It is Lucy who is the aggressor. Oh, gosh, man, Reaper, no! Okay, so Reaper has a thing where he keeps dragging the dead bodies and he lines them up and then he puts a flag over them. Lucy's like, she's kind of aggravating him a little bit by running up and pulling the flags off the dead bodies, okay? Because she's just trying to get him to be, I don't know, she's just trying to piss him off, okay? And so he keeps going back, putting the flag back. And at some point, she takes the flag again and she runs off with it. And he's like getting annoyed. He's like running and chasing after her. Here's the thing. Clemencia is his mentor. And I don't really get why. I feel like maybe this is just poor writing. But Clemencia has not been giving Reaper any food, any drink, because she claims that he doesn't deserve it because he hasn't really killed anyone. He hasn't really done anything, so he doesn't deserve anything. And he's like dehydrated. He's hungry. At some point, he falls over. Okay, he falls over next to a puddle of water, and he makes the mistake of drinking that puddle of water. He's drinking it. He's slopping it up. But then all of a sudden, he falls as well. And he actually stays still for about an hour because everyone's like, what is going on with him? What happened to him? Did he just succumb to his death? Like, what's going on? Well, y'all can guess that Lucy Gray, she laced that puddle of water with poison. Coriolanus is watching. He's holding his breath. Wait, is that it? Did she win? Is Reaper finally gone? Am I finally the victor? Am I the one who finally is going to get the money, the grand prize? Am I going to get the glory, the future with Lucy in my arms? Everyone is cheering in the stadium for Lucy Gray, for Coriolanus, and he is just so excited, so enthralled. But all that is quickly taken away because Dean Highbottom calls him over. And so Coriolanus, he's like, well, maybe Dean Highbottom just wants to congratulate me. Maybe he wants to apologize for being such a jerk to me all this time. As he enters into the room, he sees Dean Highbottom and laid out on the table were 3 items. One was an Academy napkin, the same one that he used to transport food over to Lucy Gray. Another was his mother's silver compact. And then lastly, was the handkerchief, the one that he dropped in the snake pen. But how did they know that it was his? Well, he didn't realize this handkerchief that he's been using. If you look very closely into the details, there are tiny little initials. His father's initials were on there. Oh my goodness. So what happens here? Where do we go from here, Corgi? Dean Highbottom's like, yeah, you cheated. You broke the rules. And we're expecting, okay, maybe he's going to get a demerit. What is it going to be? Like the second demerit, I guess? Okay, second demerit. He doesn't have 3 demerits. He's not going to get expelled. Like maybe it would be fine. But nope. Coriolanus is now going to be the newest, the shiniest peacekeeper of District 12. What? He's going to become a peacekeeper? I honestly thought that Lucy Gray was going to die and that Coriolanus, from this point, he ends up spiraling, becomes evil. Like, I don't know, man. He's going to become a peacekeeper. Okay, so I guess where are we going to go from there? And maybe we're thinking that he was sent to be a peacekeeper for the summertime. No, he is sent to be a peacekeeper for 20 years. 20 years. What is going to happen to the Snow name? It is going to be tarnished. They strip him away of his pride. They shave his beautiful golden curls, and he at least gets to choose to go to District 12 to serve his peacekeeping service. Because remember, District 12 is where Lucy's from, so maybe he'll get to reunite with her. So he's training becoming a peacekeeper. He makes some really decent friends, his bunkmates, and he realizes, well, at least the food here is pretty darn good. Like, okay, I could deal with this. And not only that, the extra bonus was no one knew who he was. No one knows about him trying to cheat the Hunger Games and all the shame that would come with it. All right, so we got Cousin Tigress, okay? She writes him a letter and she says, the rumor in the capital was that you fell in love with Lucy Gray, you got drunk, you were celebrating, and then on a whim of a dare, you decided to sign up for a peacekeeper. I still think it's a little bit of a lazy writing because it just doesn't make sense. Why would people believe that? Wouldn't they have realized that he disappeared ASAP? He didn't even have time to celebrate with any of his friends. I feel like the friends would have been very suspicious of him disappearing so quickly. But there was a little bit of bad news though. Cousin Tigress had no idea what happened to Lucy Gray. She was like, have you seen her? So at this point, I'm like, oh my God, what happened to Lucy Gray? Did they punish her? Did they kill her? Did they get rid of her? Something happened to Lucy Gray. And now maybe this is what's gonna make him spiral out of control and into a villain. Everything comes crashing down on him all over again. He's gotta serve as a peacekeeper for 20 years. He wants to go to university. How is he to become president? Maybe it's just better for him to just die now then serve the 20 years, and as he's sitting there contemplating back and forth, we hear some footsteps. There is a new recruit for the peacekeepers. The door opens, and we see none other than Sejanus Plinth. Sejanus also sort of got in trouble as well. Remember Sejanus, he went to the arena. I thought that was settled when his father agreed to give the Plinth Prize to the winner of the Hunger Games, but I mean, honestly, like the writing in this book is like kind of like, ugh, to me. So Sejanus was like, oh, you know, like I still got punished for that. And I, you know, decided to serve as a peacekeeper with you. And you would think maybe Coriolanus would be annoyed by seeing Sejanus' face. But no, he was like so excited. Like there was a familiar face, someone from the capital, like, oh, thank goodness. Not only that though, but Sejanus was like, listen, I only agreed to become a peacekeeper if I graduated and you graduated as well. And this is great news for Snow because now that he has the diploma, he is going to be able to advance in his career. He is so grateful to Sejanus for doing this for him, and the two boys, they become very close during this time. Sejanus and Coriolanus, they finally get their first assignment, a very major assignment as a peacekeeper. There is an execution that is to take place, and they need as many peacekeepers there just to make sure nothing rowdy or chaos erupts, okay? Nothing bad happens. As they're making their way through the peacekeepers' headquarters and through into District 12, Coriolanus looks around and he notices like the detritus in District 12, okay? Everything is just kind of like broken down. There's people running around half naked, and he's just like kind of like grossed by all this. He has this conversation with Sejanus, and he's like, man, it's like we throw so much money in these districts. Sejanus corrects him, was like, we throw money at the industries, not at the districts. Like these people are on their own. As the execution is taking place, they are lining up the perimeter, making sure nothing happens, and the man is about to be hung. As he's about to be dropped down, he yells something out into the crowd. It's actually directed towards his lover, who's running towards him. There's nothing she can do. She's caught by the peacekeepers. But an odd thing is that when they dropped him down to hang him, his voice echoes eerily throughout all the district. And it's not your typical echo. It's echoing over and over and over again. At this point, Coriolanus thought he was going crazy. He's like, what is that noise? It ends up being the Mockingjays. Oh, the Mockingjays. Do y'all remember the Mockingjays from the original Hunger Games series? During the times of the war, the capital, they engineered these birds called Jabberjays. Jabberjays were used to spy on the rebels and to repeat things back to them, okay? Now, after the war was over, the Jabberjays, they were still running around rampant, flying around everywhere, and they ended up mating with the mockingbirds in the wild, hence the name Mockingjays. And something about these Mockingjays, Coriolanus hated their presence. He hated them so much. He did not like the idea of these unnatural things flying around, existing in this world. And he pitches to his captain, hey, we should use them as target practice. Like, let's eradicate all of these, like, I don't know, man, they're unnatural. Let's get rid of all of them. Now we're getting a glance into President Snow's hatred of the Mockingjays. Now, after the execution, Sejanus was pretty shooken up by it. And Coriolanus was sort of as well, but he kind of got over it. But Sejanus was like, what am I doing here? Sign up for the peacekeepers. Like, I thought I was going to be able to keep these district people safe, but like, what if it comes to me having to shoot and kill one of them? It's not something I wanted to do. And Coriolanus is like, well, what did you think you were signing up for? Sejanus was like, I don't know. I was maybe hoping to be a medic, but They won't let me be a medic because I'm too good of a shot. Coriolanus is trying to console his friend, but in the back of his mind, he's like, oh my God, this guy's like stupid, okay? Like, I don't understand what's wrong with him, but whatever. Like, he's my friend. I guess I'll try to help him out a little bit. We see this tug of war in Coriolanus' monologue between him wanting to be a good friend to Sejanus, but what Sejanus is saying, it doesn't jive well with Coriolanus. All right, so let's try to get Lucy back in here because maybe Lucy can rein him back in. The group finds out that Lucy's gonna be performing at something called The Hub. It's like a warehouse thing, and her bandmates, they all play together. And so he arrives, he finally gets to see her perform on stage, and he is just admiring her as she sings. But as the song comes to an end, instead of him being like so happy and applauding, he feels an intense amount of jealousy. Is it because Lucy Gray is singing about an ex-lover again? No, it's because everyone's admiring her and everyone's clapping. He's like, this is my girl, like my girl. Like, oh my God, that is so cringe. We watch a lot of true crime stuff and we know a lot about possessive men. Okay, there's possessive women too out there. But anyways, he's like, that's my girl. And he feels jealous. Like, this is your first time seeing her after a while. And this is the first thing that you feel. Oh boy. But it's okay. He's about to see Lucy. Lucy's going to help him out a little bit. So after the performance is over, he's like inching towards Lucy. You know, she's got a lot of people coming up to her, admiring her, things like that. And he's like slowly getting closer and closer to her. Right when he was about to reach over to her, Lucy Gray's ex shows up and causes a huge commotion. At some point, the lights go out and there's a huge brawl that just happens. Everyone's fighting, punches are being thrown. And while he's in this chaotic manner, he thinks of Dr. Goal. He can hear her voice in his mind. Mankind, this is the natural state. I'm like, who has time to think about Dr. Goal when like punches are flying at your face? Okay, so anyways, that gets settled. The fight is over. He doesn't really get to see Lucy Gray, and he ends up going back to the Peacekeeper headquarters. The next day, him and Sejanus, they head on out, try to find out where Lucy Gray and her bandmates live, and they were able to get directions. They finally get to the house, and they're like sweating. It's hot. He bought her like a bag of ice, but by this time, it's already melted. And the bandmates are like, oh yeah, Lucy Gray, she's like right by the waters. And she's actually there with, I don't know, some name, okay? And then he's like, who is that? Is that another guy? Who is Lucy Gray with? That's my girl. Ends up being that she's just hanging out with a goat dude, okay? Just chill. So he sees Lucy Gray, they greet each other, they kiss, they hug. They finally catch up though. We do find out what happened to Lucy Gray during the Hunger Games and how things really went down. So Lucy says that she didn't mean to poison one of the kids. She was actually trying to target one of the 3 kids that attacked Sejanus and Coriolanus, but it ended up being the little girl who drank the water instead, and she got poisoned. And also, when it came to Reaper actually also had rabies as well, and her poisoning Reaper, it was more like a mercy killing. And so any killing that she had to do, it was all out of self-defense, and it wasn't like she was the aggressor. She was also confused about why the snakes were following her. Coriolanus never told Lucy about the snake incident with Clemency at this point. Didn't tell her about the handkerchief that he dropped into the snake tank. And he tells her that you technically saved me when the arena was bombed, and then now I saved you with the snake. So it's as if we're responsible for each other's lives. But it doesn't end there. They go back to the house, and guess who is back? It is Lucy Gray's ex-boyfriend. Oh my God, this ex-boyfriend. But the ex-boyfriend, he is talking to Sejanus, and Coriolanus is like, what the hell what do they have to talk about, okay? He sees a quick little glimpse of Sejanus drawing out a map of the base and telling the ex-boyfriend the layout. Okay, it's a little bit suspicious, but he's not going to say anything in the moment. He'll ask Sejanus about it later. So the two finally depart, and he confronts Sejanus like, oh, what were you guys talking about? Oh, why were you drawing the map of our base? And Sejanus is like, oh, you know, they just want to rescue the girlfriend of the man, you know, that was like recently hung. We attended his execution, and I just wanted to help him out a bit. And Coriolanus is like, you're a rebel sympathizer. What are you doing? Hello, Sejanus. I thought you got over this phase. I thought you're not going to become a rebel. And Sejanus is like, I can't help it. It's just who I am. Like, this whole thing is immoral. The Hunger Games is immoral. Like, I don't think I can be a peacekeeper. I don't think I can do this. So they have a fight, but they're able to, I don't know. They're able to talk it over, okay? Because Sejanus, you know, he has his moments, and Coriolanus is trying to be a good friend and reel him in. But in the back of his mind, it's almost as if he feels disgusted at Sejanus. And it just gets a little bit darker from here. Coriolanus decides to write a letter to Dr. Goal. This is the same Dr. Goal that creeped him out, the same Dr. Goal that he didn't like. He thought she was sadistic, but he's writing to her. Look at how much distance there is between him and Dr. Goal physically, but he still wants to have contact with her, okay? He writes her and he's like, me being a peacekeeper, this is the perfect stage to watch the battle between control and chaos. Coriolanus, he cannot shake this off, okay? He is starting to feel a sense of threat and a sense of paranoia towards Sejanus. So what does he do? This boy goes to Sejanus' locker and he starts searching through it. He starts going through all the personal possessions, going through all the photos, and he finds some sleeping pills, which is a little bit weird because he doesn't know why Sejanus would have them. Maybe he's having issues sleeping, okay? But not only that, there is a photo frame. And out of the photo frame, he finds a shit ton of cash in there. What could Sejanus have used for cash here? Now, mind you, during this time, Sejanus' mother, she loves Coriolanus at this point, okay? Because Coriolanus is the only friend that Sejanus has, or so she thinks. And she probably thinks that Coriolanus is going to take care of her son as they're becoming peacekeepers together. So she's sending them a bunch of treats. He has a sweet tooth, by the way. Also with those treats, they're able to trade it in to get some cash so they can afford things. So he's like, why would Sejanus have use of cash here? But okay, maybe I'm overreacting because he's far away from Dr. Gold, that large sphere of influence. He's within the influence of good people now. He's got Lucy Gray. He's got Sejanus. But there's this thought that he has about Lucy Gray. So one night he's like laying in his bed and he's like, oh, I hate it. I'm being locked in here as a peacekeeper. Meanwhile, Lucy Gray, she can roam around freely. You know, I kind of liked it better when she was locked up in the Capitol because at least I knew where she was. We are rapidly going down a downward spiral into God knows what. I don't know what this peacekeeper training is doing to Coriolanus. It's a lot to take in. All right, so let's move on over to the Mockingjay. So remember Coriolanus, he pitched using the Mockingjays as target practice. He wants to get rid of them. And he actually thinks about it. He's like, you know what? I don't have issues with the Jabberjays, okay? As long as it's for strategic military use, they're fine. But it's those goddamn Mockingjays. They are unnatural. They are multiplying like crazy. Like he was repelled by the thought of them. He's working on this assignment, and it's actually with the lab people who worked with Dr. Gall back in the Capitol. And he's like hoping no one recognizes them. There is one woman that does recognize him though, and he does end up talking with her and learns how to use the Jabberjays. He knows how to record people's conversation. Okay, well, that's kind of interesting. Back at the Capitol, we see a lot of back and forth with Coriolanus between, I don't know if we want to be simplistic, good and evil. But here at the Peacekeeper camp, we're seeing him really veer towards one direction. And it's interesting because you would think without Dr. Gold actually being there physically, he would have the influence from the good people around him. He meets up with Lucy Gray again before her show. They have this conversation and he's like excited about the Jabberjay projects. And she's kind of like, oh, well, I mean, that's kind of sad. Like having someone control your voice like that. And he's like, well, I can't imagine that happening in a human setting. And she's like, well, are you able to say what you want to say? He's like, of course I am. I mean, well, within reason. And it gets a little bit awkward. She responds back, well, that's what my father thought too, but he's got more bullet holes than I can count. Things are silent. Coriolanus retorts back and says, well, my father was killed by a rebel sniper. And she's like, oh my God, chill. I'm sorry. I didn't mean, are you angry? Are you okay? And he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm just tired is all. But he is like irritated because of what's going on with Sejanus, a little bit irritated with Lucy's comment, but he still loves her. It's not like they're going to break up just yet. So don't forget that Lucy Gray, she's got a performance she's got to do. So she goes and performs and he's like, you know what? If I'm not going to see her afterwards, let me just get drunk. Okay, I'm going to drink up. I'm going to listen to her. Lucy Gray does an amazing performance and she sings this song. It's actually a song that she's named after. And so he's like kind of like, oh, excited. Okay, cool. The song is about her. But then he realizes, oh, boo, ew, this is a song about a dead ghost girl. Blah. I mean, this is a song that's written about your girlfriend and she's up there singing it. But, you know, it could just be he's just drunk and, I don't know, drunk people stuff. Whew. Now we have to go back to his paranoia. During this time, Sejanus disappears very briefly. And he's like, oh, shit, where did Sejanus go? I didn't even know he disappeared. Sejanus comes back and he's like, oh, I just went to go. It's the alcohol. It's going through my body. I just had to pee a little bit. But Coriolanus, he was acting like the paranoid girlfriend, okay? Because Coriolanus, he was doing some investigative work the next day and he was like, Sejanus is not hungover today. Therefore, he did not drink a lot yesterday. Thereby, he didn't have to pee as much as he said he did. He must be lying. Okay, this is some like Sherlock Holmes shit, I guess. I don't know. But he thinks Sejanus is up to no good again, and he is trying very hard to get Sejanus's mind set straight. But he doesn't want to confront Sejanus right away because, if you confront someone, they'll just deny, deny, deny. And he is feeling very, very annoyed with Sejanus at this point. But let's give Coriolanus a little break from all this paranoid thoughts. He's going to go on a nice outing with Lucy, her friends, Sejanus. They're going to go hike to this beautiful spot, hang out at the beautiful lake, swim around, cool down because it's really hot right now in District 12. And he's going to finally get to enjoy himself. So he talks to Lucy Gray. They kind of apologize to each other like, oh, I'm so sorry about this, so sorry about that, But they get into this very deep conversation about the Capitol. Coriolanus tells Lucy that the Capitol is a necessity because the Capitol, it represents control. It represents order. Without it, there will be chaos. People will be running around rampant and probably killing each other. And she's like, well, is that what you really think about people? And he's like, yeah, of course. The Capitol is the only thing that's keeping you safe, right? Lucy takes this in and she's like, yeah, but at what cause? He's like, what do you mean at what cause? Well, it's not like me and the Covies can be free. We can't perform in other districts. We're stuck here. Maybe having my freedom is worth that risk. And he's like, oh, so your family were rebels after all? And she's like, no, stupid. Okay, she didn't say stupid, but I want to say stupid. But we're Covies. We weren't part of any district. We were free. We get to roam around everywhere. And Coriolanus, there's a huge disconnect between him and Lucy because he's like, well, if there was no Capitol, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now because we would have been destroyed by then. Lucy makes a great point and she's like, well, humanity has been around long before the Capitol has. And he sort of relents a little bit. The two of them, they spend the day with the rest of their friends. He's enjoying this. They're hanging out right by the lake. And he's like, ooh, but before I forget, let's talk about the origin story between Lucy Gray and her ex-lover. So remember, in the first songs that she performed, Coriolanus was very unhappy because he realized that she was singing about an ex-lover. We find out that Lucy sent her lover, his name is Billy Tope, sent Billy over to the mayor's house. Maybe he can earn some money teaching piano, but he ended up cheating on her with the mayor's daughter, Mayfair. This is the same girl that Lucy Gray threw a snake down her shirt collar and she got slapped by her dad, okay? Lucy Gray had her suspicions that Mayfair was trying to get rid of her because all of a sudden her name was chosen for the reaping. So that's why Lucy Gray was very angry with Mayfair and angry at her ex-lover. She tries to tell Coriolanus that she's over her lover. There's nothing going on. And Coriolanus, he's like happy. He believes her. But when Lucy isn't around, he corners one of Lucy's friend and he tries to sneakily, casually ask her friend, oh yeah, so does Billy come around anymore? Trying to dig around information. When you're dating someone and you have suspicions that they are possibly cheating on you. So what do? Do you ask them directly? No, you ask their friends. You try to dig around, get some information, and you finally get an answer that you're looking for. But soon after, your paranoia creeps in and you realize that it's not going to satisfy you. Okay, we might have all been through there before because I did that when I was young. Not only is there a mounting paranoia with Lucy Gray, there is also a huge paranoia with Sejanus as well. So Coriolanus, he tries to have a heart-to-heart with Sejanus, was like, hey, listen, I'm like your buddy. We're almost brothers here. There's anything you ever need, let me know. If there's anything you're ever going through, feel free to tell me. I won't judge you. And so Sejanus gives a huge hug, doesn't say anything. And Coriolanus is not happy because he's like, deception. He won't tell me anything. But Sejanus, he's like a good guy, okay? He's got this guilt that's probably eating at him. And at some point, he's like, you know what, Coriolanus, I actually do have to talk to you. I need to tell you something. There's something that's actually been going on. But Sejanus, he made the mistake of approaching Coriolanus while he was near the bird cages. Remember, Coriolanus, he knows how to work these jabberjays now. He knows how to record conversation. The Coriolanus, kind of like the impulse that he had with dropping the handkerchief in the snake cage, Coriolanus hits the record button. Oh my God. There's no going back from this. So Janus, poor guy, doesn't know what's going on, but he just lets it all out. Tells Coriolanus, I need to get out of here. I'm planning on deserting the peacekeepers, and me and Billy, which is Lucy Gray's ex-boyfriend, are planning to go up north. Apparently, there are people that are up there. They are free. They don't have to be a part of the districts, and I just need to get out of here. There's no way I could serve as a peacekeepers. Coriolanus, instead of being happy for his friend, he was so pissed. And instead of having him deal this on his own, he's like, you know what? I'm going to send the Jabberjay to Dr. Gold. This is the worst person you could send it to. He says it to Dr. Gold, and he's like, well, she'll take care of this. At most, like, he'll probably just get, I don't know, he'll probably just get like discharged or something like that. And he'll probably just get sent back to the capital. And maybe his father will pay someone off and he won't get us as much trouble. But, we all know this is BS because Coriolanus has already admitted that they are adults. It is almost life or death at this point. So it's like he's convincing himself that he's not a shitty person, that he's actually really doing this for, Sejanus's benefit. Sejanus, he just needs to straighten up. That's it. Oh boy. And it just goes downhill from here. So we have another performance at the Hob. Lucy and her band, they are playing their music, and he goes and he realizes that Sejanus disappears again. So he decides to covertly follow Sejanus and realizes that Sejanus is there with Lucy Gray's boyfriend and another district kid, and surrounded them were a bunch of guns. What would Sejanus do with all these guns? Coriolanus, he's always been projecting like, oh, I'm your brother. We're very tight with each other. We're best friends. So Sejanus is like, oh, don't worry about Coriolanus. Like, we're really close with each other. It's okay. He's totally fine with this. And as this is happening, Lucy Gray had just finished performing, and she comes back to the shed where they're all congregating right now. Okay, she walks in. She's like, oh, hey, oh, why is there a bunch of guns here? And not only that, trailing behind her was the mayor's daughter, Mayfair. Mayfair shows up, and again, she sort of has this relationship with Lucy Gray's ex-boyfriend, Billy, but she arrives there, and it looks like she's about to run out. Coriolanus is so scared that she's gonna run out because if she does, it's gonna implicate him into this whole rebel mess that he's not even a part of. So he quickly grabs a gun and he shoots her through the door. Not defensively because she wasn't coming after him, but in his mind, he convinced himself that she was going to tell on him. Everything was going to be over. He tells Lucy Gray to go back on the stage, act like nothing happened. And for some reason, Billy is like trying to interject and stop Lucy Gray from doing this. So the other district kid who's there grabs a shotgun and shoots Billy. So now we have two casualties. We have Mayfair, the mayor's daughter, and we have Lucy Gray's ex-boyfriend, Billy. Like, I can't believe things just went so downhill so quickly. So everyone quickly cleans up and they go back to the venue as if nothing happened, okay? The district boy, he's going to take care of the guns. Not the dead bodies, though, because that's a little bit too heavy to haul away. Dead bodies, they're just going to leave it there. They act like nothing happened. The music starts up again. And when the performance is over, that's when you start hearing screams because people realize that there were dead bodies in the back shed. Let's reel it back a little bit, okay? Because what was Sejanus's plans? Why are there guns there? He was planning on working with the rebels, freeing the ex-girlfriend of the guy who was hung recently, the guy that was executed, and then they were all going to escape together up to the north where the capital didn't have control of them. That was their plan, their grand plan. And Sejanus, he had sleeping pills, so he wasn't planning on killing or hurting anyone. He was just going to drug them a little bit and escape right away. And oh boy, things are just really going downhill because everyone's anticipating the ire of the mayor when he finds out that his daughter is dead. The mayor goes after the peacekeepers and he thinks it was Lucy Gray that did it because she had the motive and she was there that night. But Coriolanus, you see, he knows that Lucy Gray is faithful to him, that she's not going to rat him out. And as they're doing their peacekeeper duties, at some point, there's an ambulance that comes in. There is a boy being brought onto the stretcher and he's got blood all over, but he's still alive. This ends up being the boy, the district boy, who shot Billy, and he was the one that was supposed to discard the weapons. And one of those weapons was the one that Coriolanus used to shoot Mayfair. So Coriolanus is like sweating at this point. He's like, oh my God, they're going to catch me. They're going to find the gun. They're going to find the DNA. Like, he's just so worried that he's going to become targeted next. But it's not him that they go after. It is Sejanus. They go after Sejanus, and Coriolanus is wondering how that connection was made. Did the district boy talk? Did he rat out Sejanus? But then surely he would have rat out Coriolanus as well. And this might feel like it's going really fast for you guys, but this is literally how it happens in the book. You would think you would have time to marinate between all of this and process everything that's happened. But Suzanne Collins, she just goes through it pretty quickly. So Sejanus at this point has been captured, has been questioned, and they make an announcement. He is to be executed along with the girl that he planned on helping escape. We don't get any more dialogue between Sejanus, between Coriolanus, except for the day of the execution. Sejanus is getting dragged by the peacekeepers. He gives Coriolanus a look, and that's about it. Lucy Gray is there as well, and she is freaking horrified, okay? Everyone is there. They bring up Sejanus up there, they hoist him up, and as they're about to drop him, Sejanus, he is calling after his mom over and over and over again. And again, we have his voice echoing throughout all over the district because there are the Mockingjays that are repeating over and over again what Sejanus is saying. And this is haunting Coriolanus. Coriolanus doesn't know what happened to Sejanus, and he's like, well, was it because maybe Dr. Gall got what I recorded of Sejanus? Maybe they just caught him some other way. Maybe it wasn't me. This is not my fault. There's no way I did this. I do want to point out that I thought it was really weird that Sejanus's parents didn't come in and swoop in to rescue him, or it was never mentioned that they were there at his execution. I feel like they would be there, or they would show up at this peacekeeper's office and make a huge deal about it. I don't know. Suzanne just forgot about maybe his parents, I guess. Now, Coriolanus, he is genuinely very sad about Sejanus' death. He goes to Sejanus' locker. He starts crying. He starts bawling out, I think for like 5 minutes, though. He takes Sejanus' money and he shoves it into an envelope and sends it over to Tigris because after all, it's not like Sejanus is going to have any use for it. I forgot to mention that during this time, Coriolanus did take this examination because he wants to be promoted to I think, captain of the Peacekeeper or some other role. But you see, all of that, it's going to be taken away because one day or another, they're going to find that gun. And that gun is going to be tied to Coriolanus' DNA. They're going to find out that he was actually the one that killed the mayor's daughter. Everything's about to be over for Coriolanus. Everything is falling apart. Things are not looking good. And he just wants to make sure he leaves something behind for Lucy Gray. So he finds his beautiful yellow scarf to give her, but he doesn't know when he's going to have an opportunity to see her again. Luckily, the Peacekeeper's captain's birthday is coming up soon, and they hired the Coveys to play as part of the band. But you see, before that happens, he's finally called to the captain's office. All right, here we go. The moment that I've been waiting for. They found the gun. The DNA's on there. Like, oh my God, my life is going to be over. Am I going to be executed next? He goes into the captain's office. He has a seat. The captain's like standing there, and he's like, you were friends with Sejanus, weren't you? Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, we were close. I know this must be hard for you, but your friend was a rebel. But if it wasn't for you sending the Jabberjay to Dr. Gall, we wouldn't have found out. Oh no, this is the reason why Sejanus died. Coriolanus, what were you doing? Coriolanus, he was trying to be a good friend still. I don't know if that friendship is pretty much over. Coriolanus was like, well, Sejanus, he wasn't bad. He was just confused. And the captain acknowledges that, this was not easy for you to do, Coriolanus, but you have an obligation. You have dedication to the capital. And for that, we admire you. And with that, Coriolanus got over Sejanus pretty quickly because he was feeling all giddy. He was going to see Lucy Gray soon at the captain's birthday. And it ends up being a special night. She goes out there, she performs, and for the first time, she finally has a song dedicated to Snow. He is like in love with her. He's giddy, like tears are like welling up his eyes and like, oh my God, he's so happy. When he finally sees Lucy Gray, he like hugs her, they kiss and all that stuff. He gives her the scarf and she has some bad news for him. She tells him that the mayor has been going after her relentlessly to the point where he's been parking his car in front of her house for days. The peacekeepers, they can't really do anything about it, and she thinks that he's going to go after her no matter what. She's planning on leaving up to the north where Sejanus and Billy were going to go, and this is goodbye. This is going to be the last time that she's going to see Coriolanus. Coriolanus makes a very surprising decision. He's like, I'm going to go with you. Lucy's like, no, you can't. You can't end your life like this. He's like, well, what's the point anyways? There's a gun out there with my DNA on it, and they're going to find me out soon enough. So let's leave. Let's go tomorrow. And Lucy, she is surprised about this. Coriolanus is going to go with her. They're going to make their lives together up in the north, and they're going to have a fresh start. And now Operation Lovebirds. Coriolanus woke up super early the next morning. His bunkmates, they were still hungover. They drank a shit ton of whiskey. And Coriolanus woke up really early, went down to get some breakfast. And there's adrenaline pumping throughout his body because he's about to abandon being a peacekeeper. And he's going to go finally start a life with Lucy Gray. As he's finishing up his breakfast, all of a sudden, some peacekeepers come up to him and they say, Snow, you're one in the captain's office. Oh no, they must have found the gun with the DNA. Like they must have caught him. They must have found out it was him. And this is just bad luck, bad timing. The captain looks at him and greets him. Private Snow, let me congratulate you. You were to leave tomorrow morning for officer school. And Snow was like, wait, officer. Oh, I forgot that I took that exam. Okay, so it wasn't for a captain's exam, like I said earlier. This is for officer school. He's going to finally be upgraded in the peacekeepers. And as he's sitting there, he's taking everything in. Captain's like, you're leaving tomorrow. And, you would normally train here, but you're actually going to be training in District 2. And he's like, oh, District 2. Like, okay, District 2 is way more comfier than District 12. Like, it's kind of near the capital. This isn't too bad. But what is he thinking? No, he's going with Lucy Gray. He's going to abandon everything. He's going to pursue his love. Him and Lucy Gray, they're going to escape afterwards. So he gives the captain a handshake and he quickly scurries away. He sneaks out to meet with Lucy Gray and the two of them are talking and he's got butterflies in his stomach. He's about to start this new life. They're going to be out in nature. They're going to be able to fish together and just do whatever the heck they wanted. No control whatsoever. He's got his daddy's compass. He pulls it out. He's like, north is this way. Let's head on north together. And Lucy's like, this is going to be so great to live this new life together without having to kill anybody. And Coriolanus is like, I'm there with you. Like three seems like enough for a lifetime. Well, at least enough for a summertime. And Lucy's like, yeah, absolutely. And so the two of them, they're walking together through the woods. And she's like, oh, well, who's the third one? He's like, huh? Third one? She's like, yeah, you said 3. Oh, well, she's like, well, the first one, that was Bobbin. The second one's Mayfair. Who's the third? You know how Snow is. He's very snaky. He's very good on his feet. Snow is like, well, the third person's me, of course, silly. I had to kill my old self in order to be with you now. And she's like, oh, okay. We are towards the end of the book. I mean, you know what direction we're going with this, okay? Y'all know who Coriolanus Snow is. I really had to take a day to compose myself before we get to this next part. And we are literally at the climax. Yes, it's at the end of the book. Why is the climax at the end? When I was reading this book, there was never really any other chapters where I felt like I was so addicted to this book, where I was reading and turning the pages and I had to get to the next part. It was more like a very chill ride for me, honestly. But we are now towards the end of this book. Coriolanus, everything just feels so surreal. He's about to go off with the girl of his dreams, give up everything. She's got no music. He's going to have no education. It'll just be them, freedom. I mean, what are they going to be doing? Are they going to have a family? Are they going to have children? I mean, it seems kind of bleak to bring children to a world like this where they're only going to be surviving. Is that just going to be the point of their lives from here on out? Lucy Gray's like, oh, this is a good stopping point. Let's just settle down here. Let's get some food. Let me teach you how to fish. And so she's setting up the hooks and they're digging for worms. He's clawing to the earth, still a little bit giddy inside. But as he's clawing deeper and deeper, he realizes what a disgusting task this is. I mean, to be able to do this every day, will they be doing this every day? Maybe only if they're really hungry enough. Maybe if they're only really desperate enough. Man, a task like this would just be so much more easier if I wasn't such an exceptional person. If I wasn't the best, if I wasn't the brightest of the students, if I wasn't capital material. This is Coriolanus' thoughts, okay? I'm like rolling my eyes here, but I'm just like, okay, he's just going through a thought process right now. Let's see where we go with this. He was like, man, if only I was a stupid and poor person, would a task like this not even faze me? What about Lucy Gray? Now they're done with fishing and Lucy Gray caught 2 fishes. Okay, she catches 2 fishes. Coriolanus is like, oh, I didn't catch any fish. Oh, darn. Well, I guess I suck at this. They're walking through the woods and they see a shed and Lucy's like, oh, let's go over there and let's get some shelter. And he's like, oh, okay, thank goodness. We have a place to actually stay in. But remember, they are heading up north. They don't know where they're going to be living. They don't know there's going to be sheds up there. If there's going to be, houses for them to live in. He might be relegated to living in the cave. Ugh, ew. And as he's approaching the shed, they go inside. There's a burlap sack in the corner. And you might not think, maybe burlap sack, maybe there's some potatoes in there. Maybe there's some food in there. No, better yet, out of that burlap sack, Coriolanus sees a shotgun barrel poking out of it. And he's slowly approaching. There's butterflies in his stomach. He's getting a little bit giddy. And Lucy's like, oh, what you got there over there? And he's like, these are the guns. The guns. These were the guns that were hidden. They're not in a laboratory somewhere. They're not under capital control testing for DNA where he's going to be found out soon for murdering Mayfair. No, the guns was right there, right in front of him. And Lucy's like, oh, okay, that's cool. He's like, well, should we take these guns with us? No, I don't really trust those. But here, oh, there's a knife right here. I'll take that. You know what? You stay here and I'm going to go get us some food. Coriolanus is like, well, it's raining outside. She's like, well, it's a good thing I'm not made out of sugar. So Lucy Gray, she heads on out to get some food, and Coriolanus doesn't join her. I mean, like, you're not going to go join her and help her get some food? Okay. Oh, and I forgot to mention that as he's entering into the shed, he's thinking about the house in the Capitol, his beautiful penthouse, how he's going to miss those beautiful marble walls, the floors, the crystal chandeliers. Okay, I just had to like bring that up, okay? Because, you know, we got to get into the mind of Coriolanus here. Now that Lucy Gray's gone, he is a little bit relieved. Lucy's gone, he's here, and he's alone with his thoughts because he just wants time to think. The guns are right here, right in front of him. He can easily destroy the guns right now, not have to worry about being found out for being a murderer, killing the mayor's daughter. He can easily go back to the Capitol, live his life, go to officer school, and but wait. What about Lucy Gray? Oh, yeah, Lucy. She does know. She's like, I think she's the only last person that knows that I killed Mayfair. She won't tell anyone. Lucy's faithful. And I love her. I love Lucy. And as he's sitting there with his thoughts, he realizes that Lucy has been gone for quite some time. What is taking her so long? He goes out in search for Lucy Gray, and he doesn't go out empty-handed, okay, y'all? He takes a gun with him. But maybe we're just overthinking. He's taking the gun probably because he thinks Lucy got into some trouble somewhere. They're out in the woods, in the wilderness. And maybe he has the gun to protect himself, maybe to protect her. Who knows? Maybe someone caught her. And as he's running through the woods, he's thinking about the Hunger Games. Man, Lucy was the victor of the Hunger Games. She really knows how to survive. She did kill that girl, the little poor girl, by poisoning her. She did deceive the other person by poisoning them with a snake. And don't forget about Reaper. I mean, she did say it was a mercy killing because she thought Reaper had rabies. I mean, who knows if that's even true or not. And so he's starting to doubt the words of Lucy Gray. She told him, that the reason why she had to kill was because of self-defense, or she didn't actually, she didn't mean to kill the little girl. The reason why she killed Reaper, mercy and all that stuff. And he's starting to doubt that. And he's spiraling out of control in his mind in the woods. But back to Lucy. Lucy must have realized who the third person was. She must realize that I was responsible for Sejanus's death. And so he keeps spiraling to his paranoia, getting angry. He's running around looking for Lucy, shouting after her name, Lucy, Lucy, Lucy Gray, where are you? Lucy, why is she hiding from me? Why is she scared of me? All of a sudden, he sees a scarf dangling in the branch somewhere. And this is a scarf that, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, I think I did, right? He gave a scarf to Lucy Gray, I think the night of, maybe the night before. He thought he was going to get caught because of the guns, and he thought he was going to be sent away or maybe get executed. So he wanted to leave her something. I think I mentioned this, but anyways, I'll mention it again just in case I didn't. So he sees a scarf dangling and he reaches for it. Out of nowhere, something springs up and bites him. He screams, he yelps. She tried to kill me. She tried to poison me. She set me up. What the hell? And he realizes that he got bit by a snake. It is venomous. The poison is surging into his veins. What should he do? Should he suck it out? He's screaming. He's yelling. He feels really nauseous. He feels very dizzy. At the same time, he's not going to let Lucy Gray get away with this. He's running around the woods, chasing her, trying to find her. And all of a sudden, he hears something. She must be 10 meters away from me. He lifts his gun and starts shooting indiscriminately into the air, okay? A bunch of birds starts flocking away and he hears a faint yelp. Gotcha. He finally shot her. So he heads up there to the direction and he realizes, no sign of Lucy. Oh, but man, my arm is starting to hurt. The poison's really starting to get to me. I really need to get back. I need to really get some help. So he goes back to the shed, gathers the rest of the guns, and he goes to the lake and he discards it. And we're like, okay, so what happened to Lucy? Where Lucy at? Okay, we'll find out in a little bit soon enough, I guess. So as the poison is starting to surge in his veins, he's starting to panic. He's getting nauseous. He's like vomiting. But he's got a compass that can help him navigate back to where the Peacekeepers' headquarters are. He pulls it out and he's like, this is a compass that belonged to my father. Something that's going to help me get back to where I need to go. And so he arrives back at the Peacekeepers' headquarters. He's like stumbling. He's feeling really sick. The arm's like stinging. He goes to the medic's office and he needs to come with an excuse because, he's gone through this whole traumatic thing and ordeal. I don't want to say traumatic thing. Okay. He went through this whole ordeal, and how is he going to explain away to this officer about his injury? And he's like, oh yeah, I was just like out there, it was raining and it just jumped out at me and just bit me. And then she doesn't seem really, worried about or anything. She's like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, when it rains, they happen to just be out about a lot. And he's like, am I going to die? Am I poisoned? Like, am I going to be okay? And she's like, hardly, okay? This is not even venomous. And if you look at the bite, There are no fangs. You're fine. You might have a scar at least. And he's like, well, I was vomiting. I was feeling dizzy. And she's like, yeah, well, panic will do that to you. And so he's fine. He goes back to where the bunkmates are. And this is when he realizes, oh, shit, it's only like midday. The bunkmates, they weren't even awake yet. They were still hungover. They were still drunk from the next day. And they're still asleep. He goes to the bathroom to take a shower, cleans off, thinking in the shower. And he had his mom's compact powder with him, but remember, he jumped into the lake to discard the weapons, or I don't know if I mentioned, I think I did. He jumped into the lake, discards the weapon. The mom's compact powder, the beautiful flowery scent, it all just turned to mush. This shit's useless anyways. I'm just going to throw it away. He also had these pictures that he kept of him and his mom, and because they're wet, they're just stuck together. Useless, throw it away. The only thing that he kept with him that isn't useless anymore is the compass that his father left him. Oh my God, there is so much that's going on here. And I'm just like, what? Okay, there's about 6% more in this book. We got some explanation to do. So if we're just going to take a moment here, just to kind of absorb everything, him throwing away his mother's compact, him throwing the photos of him and his mom, but him keeping his dad's compass. This to me was an allegory that represented his last connection to his mother, this very last thin thread that has now been snipped away because we no longer have that connection with Lucy Gray. She's gone. We don't know what happened to her. We no longer have his connection with Sejanus. Everyone in his life that represented friendship, love, romance, all gone. The only thing he has left is his father. And it's almost as if his father's compass will now be his moral compass of how he's going to guide himself in the future in his life. But first, I don't know if I made this clear during the story. His father was a figure that he feared. He wasn't very close to his father. He saw his dad as someone who was a very, very stoic, militaristic man. He wasn't very close to him. He was very close to his mom instead. His mom was warmth, the representation of love. And for him to kind of just get rid of those, like the stuff with his mom in the pictures, and then keeping, his dad's stuff, kind of shows like this is his new him. He's a man now. This is who he has become. Not choosing love, not choosing empathy, but choosing power, choosing authoritarianism. And I don't know, man. This hurts. This really does hurt my soul. Okay, this hurts my soul a lot. What really hurts my soul the most while reading this book, within the same pages of this book, he is already on a not luscious, but he's already on this plane, sitting in his beautiful plush seats, having the flight attendant coming up to him, offer him an assortment of drinks. And he's like, this is so nice and comfortable. Like, oh my God, this is the life that I miss. This is what I need. He's heading his way to Capital 2 and they tell him, oh, hey, we're here. We're actually, or so they say Capital 2, District 2. He's heading his way over to District 2 and they make an announcement saying, we're here. We're at the Capitol. He's like, oh, wait, excuse me. I'm supposed to go to the District 2. Did I miss my stop? No, you're supposed to come to the Capitol. And we're like, wait, why is he at the Capitol? Oh God. Okay. Where are we going to go from here on? We went through a whirlwind. Suzanne Collins didn't even give us time to process this. And now he's already on this sort of luxurious flight entering back to the Capitol. And we're like, what did we just get hit by? I feel like I just got hit by a train over and over and over. Okay. So he's at the Capitol. He's very confused. Maybe Lucy Gray resurfaced. Maybe she told on him. And as he walks up, they tell him, she's expecting you. Nope, it's not Lucy Gray. It is Dr. Gall. I mean, we all knew it was going to be Dr. Gall. Who else is it going to be, all right? It's not like his dead mom's going to come out of the grave and be like, oh, hey, I'm here. Nope, it was Dr. Gall, who is sort of, I guess, a motherly figure to him anyways. But Dr. Gall was like, I got your letter. Too bad about Sir Plinth. Although, is it really? I'm glad to hear that you were still focusing on your studies during your time in District 12. Yes, it was eye-opening. Chaos, control, contract, the 3 C's. Did you think about the Hunger Games? The day we met, Casca asked you about what their purpose was, and you gave the stock answer, to punish the district. Would you change that now? I'd elaborate on it. They're not to punish the districts. They're part of the eternal war. Each one is its own battles. One we can hold in the palm of our hand, instead of waging a real war that can get out of our control. And they're a reminder of what we did to each other. What we have the potential to do again because of who we are, creatures who need the capital to survive. And Dr. Gall is like, well, it seems like you learned a lot from your summer vacation. He's like, vacation? And she's like, yeah, what do you think? I was going to have you laze away during the summertime? Huh? I sent you over to the district so you can learn something. Anywho, you are to study under me. See you in class Thursday. Class? Really? The university? You mean the capital? Coriolanus finally gets everything that he wants. Everything. Trust me, he gets everything because we're going to continue on. Coriolanus, you're like probably thinking, how is he going to afford university? What's going to happen to his family? He's going to still live in the apartment. What's going to go on with that? Coriolanus was named heir by the Plinth family, by Sejanus' family. And I'm like, did they not know that he betrayed them? So it skips to the epilogue where Coriolanus is in the middle of his fall semester. He's got this beautiful, dashing outfit. His curls are all grown out again, and he's back living in the penthouse. Not only that, but the Plinth family, they purchased the penthouse. It's in the same building. They were thinking about connecting the two penthouses by adding staircases, but they are paying for everything. They're paying for the penthouse, his university, even a cook, so they don't have to go back to eating cabbages and beans. And what's disappointing to me in this chapter, they don't go into the details about the Plinth family and Sejanus' death. It's kind of just like, okay, well, you know, they're paying for everything now, and that's it. I'm like the adopted heir. I find it so hard to believe that a powerful family like the Plinth family did not go to the ends of the earth to find out what happened to their son, how their son was found out to be maybe a rebel, or if it was really set up. If anything, I would have a side eye at Coriolanus because he was there with Sejanus. He must know things. So it never really goes to explain what Coriolanus explained to Sejanus' parents. It doesn't give us any of that. I mean, given they were grieving and they just wanted a replacement son, I guess, like, it just sounds kind of messed up. And finally, we have some changes into the Hunger Games made by Coriolanus. So in order to get people to be more invested and to want to watch, they made it so the victor from whatever district, everyone in there is going to get a parcel of food. Also, in order to get people enticed to want to win the Hunger Games, the winner's gonna get this giant mansion just so they can be the envy of the town. And not only that, but they're gonna get a crap ton of money. And then we're gonna end the story with Coriolanus' fourth killing. Nope, he's not gonna go after Dr. Gall because they're buddy buds now. He's gonna go after Dean Highbottom. And he goes to Dean Highbottom's office, and apparently during this time, Dean Highbottom has had his mom's compact this entire time. Oh, you know, I was going through Sejanus' belongings and, you know, I didn't want to throw this away because you probably wouldn't want the academy diploma just floating around out there. And Dean Highbottom was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I wouldn't want this out there. And as he's going through Sejanus' belongings, all the stuff he found in the locker, he's throwing some things away into Dean Highbottom's trash. And part of it is 3 bottles of medicine. He chucks it away and he knows Dean Highbottom's eyeballing this, but he's not going to go through the trash yet. It's not until he leaves the office, Dean Highbottom goes back to the trash and he fetches the medicine bottle. Because remember, Dean Highbottom, you know, he's always under the influence. He's addicted to medicine and maybe even drinking as well. And with this, Dean Highbottom gets poisoned. Before he does get poisoned, though, we do find out that the beef between Dean Highbottom and his father is that apparently, they used to be best friends, okay? When they were kids, they were best friends, and they were taking a class together under Dr. Gall. Dean Highbottom hated Dr. Gall. He was failing the class, but there was a group project that they were supposed to work on, and it was, what is the worst punishment you can give to your enemy? And so that night, as they're brainstorming, you know, just as a joke, I think Dean Highbottom, they went out drinking or something, and he mentioned, you know, something similar to the Hunger Games, like, oh, get all the district kids to come in and fight each other, blah, 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 blah. But he was just joking, okay? He did not mean this whatsoever. However, Coriolanus' father took this, wrote into the project, and then turned it in without Dean Highbottom's permission, essentially. And so Dr. Gall was so impressed by this, she decided to implement this for real. And Dean Highbottom, he was like, it was just a joke. I didn't mean this. Like, there's no way I wanted this to be real. So he's always hated Coriolanus' father after this. And not only that, the fact that he's being paraded around as the master of the Hunger Games, it's almost as a way for Dr. Gall to further humiliate him. Not because other people think it's bad, but because Dean Highbottom internally doesn't really agree with the Hunger Games. He actually hates it. And before Dean Highbottom gets poisoned, before Coriolanus leaves his office, he's like, oh, when you left 12, was the girl sad to see you go? Coriolanus cold-heartedly answers back, I mean, I expect it was sad for both of us. He had no interest to talk about Lucy Gray about anyone. If anything, what he learned about his relationship with Lucy was that love was weak. Love made him not think straight. if he's going to marry someone in the future, it has to be someone who he hates. It has to be someone who's not going to have an influence on him. Maybe Livia Cardew. And we're like, who the fuck is Livia Cardew again? She was someone that like pissed him off or something during one class, but she was like barely mentioned. Anyways, that was his takeaway from Love. The book ends with Lucy Gray's fate was a mystery. We don't know what happened to her. Maybe she disappeared, or maybe she became a ghost girl, referring to the song that she was singing on stage at one time, where Coriolanus was like initially intrigued, but then he was like, oh, boo, ew, this is a song about a dead girl. Oh, yuck, gross. And that is the end of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Oh my God. Now I have a lot that I really want to talk with you guys about this. There's a lot. But I'm going to try to keep it as short, maybe succinct if I can. A lot of people think that Coriolanus Snow may have actually murdered Lucy Gray during his delirium, during his paranoia. Although he may not have explicitly monologued it in his mind, they think it's possible that he murdered her. Me, on the other hand, I don't know. Honestly, having not knowing what happened to her at the ending was so agonizing for me. Because I like resolution, okay? Did y'all like Coriolanus Snow being the focus of this book? Because this is a book about what essentially makes a villain. Is it the experiences? Were they born with it? We have to go back to the 4 major influences in Coriolanus Snow's life. Let's start with Cousin Tigress. We like her. To me, she represented empathy. She was the one who would reel Coriolanus back in whenever he would feel really judgmental towards Lucy Gray. For example, when she performed her music and he found out that it was about her ex-lover, and instead of him being really proud or really excited for it, he kind of just felt really about it. And he was venting to Cousin Tigress, probably expecting her to join in on it, but she was like, no, Snow, you don't understand the things that people go through. You don't understand the things that Lucy might have had to done in order to survive, in order to provide for her family. And the reason why this really hits home with Cousin Tigress is because obviously she was the one who was the provider of the Snow family. And there are probably things that she had to do that she didn't want to do, but she did it for the sake of her family. And then we got Dr. Gull, who could be seen as another motherly figure to Coriolanus. But Dr. Gull, she was a symbol of just straight up freaking evil. A symbol of someone who is of an authoritarian power, someone who didn't really have a positive outlook on mankind. She thought humans were just animals who needed to be ruled by the cream of the crop society, the capital. And then we got Sejanus. Sejanus to me was really somebody who embodied righteousness, morality. He was the one of the few who really cared about the other district kids. Sejanus, many different times, have tried to stand up to Dr. Gull when no one else had the balls to, okay? Not the dean, not Coriolanus Snow, not any other classmate, no one. He spoke out about how he felt with the Hunger Games, how he thought it was disgusting, how it was going against anything right in humanity. And then lastly, we got Lucy, our 4th and final influence. Lucy, to me, embodied freedom. She was free as a bird, or she used to be before the Peacekeeper had everything on lockdown. They used to be able to travel to different districts and perform with a Kofi band, but now she was locked down to one area. Oh, I also thought it was interesting how her last name was Baird. It was like a mixture of bird and bard. Bird, freedom, maybe Mockingjay, and then bard as in like the musician. So I thought it was kind of interesting too. But Lucy to me seemed like she was a symbol of possibly the Mockingjays that Coriolanus hated. There's a part in the book where he heard the Mockingjays sing and he was starting to really detest music. He saw music as something that was being forced into his life, something that was a disruption. And that's actually how he even saw the Covies, Lucy and her band. It was just something that was being forced upon him and he was starting to get sick of it. Oh gosh, another thing that really bugs me, can y'all guess what is the time frame for everything? Do you think it's maybe a couple months, maybe like a year or two? What do you think the time frame was? Because when I found out the time frame was only like maybe 2-3-ish months, that when everything happened from the beginning of the reaping towards the end of the summer, I thought it was crazy. I thought there was more time that had passed when they were serving the Peacekeeper, okay? I thought it was like months and months and months, but no, it was a very short time. It was only a summertime that he did this. And this brings back to me being very skeptical about whether Snow was really in love with Lucy Gray. Because hear me out, okay? Just hear me out a little bit here. I don't think he was really in love with Lucy Gray. Although he may have thought he was, I truly don't think he was because as soon as Lucy Gray didn't serve a purpose that benefit him anymore, it's as if he discarded her. So remember when he first meets her, where was he at with his life? He had this potential property tax bill that there's no way his family's gonna be able to afford. He was eating beans and cabbages. He couldn't find any good clothes to wear, while everyone else around him just thought that he was living the life of luxury, when really he wasn't. When Lucy Gray entered into his life that time, the audience was in love with her. They loved her singing, they loved her performance. And because he was tied to Lucy Gray, he was essentially riding on her coattails. Lucy Gray was the answer to all of his problems. If Lucy Gray won the Hunger Games, he was going to get the Plinth Prize or maybe the academic prize. If Lucy Gray performed well and the audience loved her, the Capitol loved her, he was going to also be part of that fame as well. But as soon as they went back to District 12, as soon as Lucy Gray became the only person that knew that he had killed the mayor's daughter, Lucy Gray served no purpose anymore because him being with her would mean no fame, no money, no fortune, nothing, nada, zip. It's just them two in, love. In my opinion, he treated her like a prize, if anything, because in the book, he would constantly cringingly, I don't know if that's a word or not, whatever, refer to her as my girl. That's my girl. He was being very jealous, very possessive. And I don't think it was because it was out of love, because that was his ticket to getting everything back to restore him to where he was before the war had happened. David Hume says you cannot determine how things ought to be based on how things are described. This is going to be the opposite of what Dr. Gall is trying to achieve. She wants Snow to answer, what are humans? And based on that answer, it's going to determine how they ought to govern. And this is going to be very important for Snow to answer in the future because obviously he's going to become the president. But at the same time, he's trying to figure out how to best govern humankind, especially with the capital and the districts with influences on each other. But with Snow, his view of humans was so subjective. I think he just focused so much on the negative aspects of humanity. For example, the wartime in the capital, the cannibalism, when his friend Arachne got her throat slit because she was dangling food in front of a hungry district kid, when he went to the arena to rescue Sejanus and he was attacked by the other district kids, and then also the Hunger Games. He saw the kids fighting the arena as if this was their natural state, when really it was more like a bunch of kids being put in very extreme environments in a very controlled state, forced by the capital. And what really pisses me off was that he chose to ignore the positive aspects of humanity. For example, cousin Tigris, the sacrifice that she had to make in order to support her family. Or what about when Lucy first saved him when he was in a truck full of other district kids and they were about to pound on him? And don't forget about Lysistrata, who had empathy towards the district kid. And the same district kid was the one who sheltered her when the bombings were happening. Why would a district kid do that for a capital kid? He forgets about Lucy saving his life for the second time when he was stuck under the beam. She had an opportunity, a chance to run away, but she decided to come back and save him. And then he completely ignores the kindness, the compassion that Reaper had towards the other kids in the arena as they were dying one by one. And don't forget with Sejanus, when Sejanus joined the Peacekeeper, he wanted to make sure that Coriolanus had a diploma. That way, if Coriolanus wanted to work his way up in the Peacekeepers, he can, because now he has an academic diploma to show for it. And he chooses to ignore all the good things that people have done in his life, whether it's for him, whether it's for someone that he loves, or whether it's just for other people. Evil is not born because a person, they can choose whether they want to acknowledge acts of kindness or acts of evil in order to define their worldview. Coriolanus had the opportunity to acknowledge all the good in his life, but he chose to ignore it. He chose to focus on all the negatives, and he was like, this is how humans are. Humans are animals, humans are savages, and I am better than other people. Because I'm better than other people, I know what's best for people. These people are savages. All right, okay, that's it. We're done with the book. I'm going to go watch the movie now, and I'll let y'all know how that is. I don't know. Am I going to hate it? I heard my brother told me it was a 3-hour movie, which I was like, what? I thought it was going to be a 90-minute movie, but we're going to watch the movie, and I'll let you guys know how it is.